My family has relied on MI6 twice, mister. I won't make that mistake a third time.
She's beautiful, isn't she?
No hard feelings, Mr. Bond.
Hello everyone and good evening to The World Is Not Enough, the live watch-along, the third watch-along, together with me and my dear friend Yannick, who is in Switzerland. Yannick, how are you today?
Hello, I'm very good. How are you, Benjamin?
I'm great, and I'm really excited for this third watch-along, Pierce Brosnan's third Bond film, and one we love and cherish very much, don't we?
Yes. Well, actually, it's been the movie that made me a Bond fan. Especially the boat chase is the one that's stuck in my memory, really.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of great action sequences we're looking forward to
Yes.
in this film. And but you have seen Tomorrow Never Dies before, so you weren't a fan then? You only became a fan with The World Is Not Enough?
No, actually, I have not seen. I think Tomorrow Never Dies was the last Brosnan Bond movie I saw. It was The World's Not Enough was first in the cinema with my parents. Then it was Die Another Day again in the cinema. And then I went back to GoldenEye because of the game. And then it was, I think, Tomorrow Never Dies. Yes.
Right, okay. So The World Is Not Enough was my third Bond in the cinema that I saw on first release. And I was already way into Bond at that time. And of course, we had it a bit later than the original release date back in the day. But I remember this as really one of Brosnan's best. I had only two to compare it to, and I had seen some of the older Bonds in between after I started with GoldenEye, and certainly after Tomorrow Never Dies. I got all the old VHS cassettes and of course watched all the Bond films, so I had a lot more to compare The World Is Not Enough to, and to measure it with other Bond films, and it blew me away on the big screen. That was really a fantastic time was had in a cinema. And I think everybody else watching us is also very much looking forward to The World Is Not Enough. Do you have an explanation why that is?
I think the World's Not Enough is very it splits the Bond community apart. I think it's the ones who like or love it dearly, and the other ones are just like, well, it's okay.
Yeah. Generally, I think the Brosnan Bonds need a lot more love.
Yes.
Today, they have gone down in the ranking a bit by fans over the years. I don't know, watched it on several occasions, and the opinions certainly have gone down a bit, but I think wrongly. Because, as we said in the previous live streams, the 1990s Bonds, they were 2 hours of solid entertainment and fun and action, great stunt work. And certainly The World Is Not Enough is no exception to that. And Die Another Day is not the 1990s. It was already 2002. So I judge that on a totally different level. Yeah?
That's right.
But The World Is Not Enough is the final Bond of the 20th century. It really blew us into the new millennium, as they promised during promotion, and this is something that has worked really well. There are some letdowns in the film, but we will go into that when we watch the film, and we start in about 5 minutes time. You will, as usual, handle the chat, because I'm here trying to monitor all the different technology aspects, because we have a lot of behind the scenes for you tonight, some of them with sound, and I thought, when I compiled all of them and put them together, I thought, why are we watching the film? Because there's so much to see in our live stream, and you will probably have both on, and I hope I'm not frying your brains when you have to look down and up and down and up and something like that. I think you can hear us all okay. Comms check, everyone. I think sound and picture quality should be good. What do you expect from tonight's watch along? Tell us in the chat any questions that you have. Pop them in the chat and we will try to answer as best we can. Yannick, you're my music expert for tonight for David Arnold's masterful score.
Yes.
On the World Is Not Enough. One I really love and listen to it often.
Mm-hmm.
And there had recently been the expanded release that he worked on. Something I really, really like and have on my mobile phone. How about you?
Yes, absolutely. And which are the tracks you listen to the most? Do you go through the entire score, or do you pick certain tracks?
I have certain tracks on my phone. I certainly have the boat chase track, Come In, Show Me the Money, stuff like that. Then, of course, the Bilbao bank queue, because that had been missing for so many years, and you only had a ripped version that somebody ripped from the Blu-ray. It had been ripped multiple times, and try to get the sound effects out as much as you could. But it was never 100% right. There was always a bang you could hear, and it was never the full orchestral power. And now we have that, and that is something I listen to a lot, which is funny because when you're on the bus and you sort of look left and look right, try to look like a secret agent, but you're stuck in the bus. But we're not using the bus at the moment. So, but it was really time that this cue got released. Yeah, certainly,
absolutely.
And then I think I have Caviar Factory. Because although it's very electronic, very loud, and in your face, it's a really good track. And then some of the slower ones, like when they start skiing in France and Kazakhstan, things like that. And David Arnold really, really did a great job on that score.
That is right. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So what do we have in the chat? I see my name popping up because it's always in orange. Something that surprised me is how the cinematography is really unremarkable when the director of photography also did Aliens, The Mummy, and Thelma and Louise, said Zachary. That's true, but I think at that time they were really instructing directors of photography to go for the standard what looks good on screen Bond kind of stuff and not do anything too arty, I would say, like Roger Deakins did later in Skyfall, where he had much more creative freedom and spirit to film as he films a film in a really crafty way. But I think The World Is Not Enough still is shot very well when you look at a dynamic scene like the boat chase.
Yes. And I think what is really remarkable and what always surprised me is what Michael Apted, the director, was able to pull off. I mean, because he came from a background of documentary filming, which is a totally different ballgame than doing a big action movie. And I was really, and I still am amazed today to what he pulled off, actually.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I have seen some Michael Apted films after The World Is Not Enough. Weren't that many that really sparked my interest, but none was as good as The World Is Not Enough. So he really did a brilliant job on that, given his background. Yeah.
Were they feature films? Did he did more feature films after The World Is Not Enough?
I think he did a couple of feature films, yeah. But I couldn't name them now because it's sort of I've never particularly looked at directors. I'm not a director guy. I'm not an expert on directors.
Neither am I.
Yeah, so that most of the time is knowledge. So I know some really, really famous directors, and I can distinguish their work from others, but certainly not Michael Apted, probably not Roger Spottiswoode. And the only other Roger Spottiswoode film I could name now is with the cat, and in London, the cat and the busker, who has that cat. And Roger Spottiswoode, that was a project of his heart, and he was promoting the film in Stuttgart, I think, which was funny because in Tomorrow Never Dies you have that line, "I could shoot you from Stuttgart," and still create the proper effect. Right, it's your turn to count us into the film because I did it last time. So on a 5-second mark, everybody hit your play button, and we start right at the beginning. The film will run 2 hours and 8. Yannick, give us a count.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, here we go. Lion.
It's exciting.
MGM Lion. It's really exciting, yeah. And I still get the questions, what do you actually do do you watch a film together? Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, everybody sitting in different places in the world watching that film together. And I think it's a great thing.
Yes.
It's totally. It should be done with more films. And not just Bond. I mean, it's totally exciting. So if you do a watch party at home, it would be the same. Everybody would be here.
Yeah, right.
As Bilbao, right in the beginning with the Guggenheim Museum, you said it.
Brosnan looking dashing as always again.
Absolutely. And we throw you right into the first behind the scenes here, the filming in Bilbao. Fantastic scene, and it wasn't easy to shoot because a lot of onlookers, a lot of fans watching the filming, and they were screaming and waving. And there is actually, now it's gone, the scene, but when he walks over the street, you can see all the fans behind a barrier at the far end of the shot. So they just couldn't get rid of them. And obviously that jump was made by a stuntman, stunt double for Pierce Brosnan. And this is also the entrance of the cigar girl, Maria Grazia Cucinotta, who actually wanted to play Elektra King. But Michael Apted screen tested her, and she did not have the correct English to play Elektra King, which is ironic because then they took Sophie Marceau, who had a French accent. But maybe that's exactly what they wanted, what they were going for. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was Banker Lachaise, of course. I always found him a bit sleazy.
Which, by the way, is French and means the chair, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And we back then when we played the PlayStation game or the Nintendo 64 game, we always joked about you could play La Chaise, and we always said in German it's translated to Der Stuhl, and we always hollered Der Stuhl kommt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he has a great voice in that opening, and he's a great actor.
Yes.
I really love his work. And this is where it starts. This is where the music sets in. There's this brilliant David Arnold cues for the opening sequence here. And that was missing from the official soundtracks before, from the official score. And we were waiting for that, since 1999, didn't we?
Yes.
And great that was finally released.
What did you think about that? Because there was a deleted scene where you could see Renard in the opposite building with a sniper rifle and talking to the cigar girl. What did you think of that scene? Is it good that guy went, or would you have preferred it to stay in the movie?
No, I think it's good that they threw that out because you would have been exposed to the villain too early.
Yes.
Although he probably would not have had a name. You didn't know, but the cigar girl was also in that scene. So, and you would have seen her again in this scene. And you know that they have test screenings before they release the film at a stage where they can still make edits or reshoots. Yeah, and they showed the film to a test audience, and they thought that the climax of this scene of Bond jumping out of the window was not enough for a Bond opening sequence. That's why the boat chase comes right after that, making it the longest opening sequence of any Bond film.
Over 14 minutes, right?
Over 14 minutes, yeah.
Learned that from you, yes.
Yeah. And actually, the opening sequence was so long that the 35mm reel had to be changed before the title sequence and the title song. There was one whole 35mm reel already finished. I thought it was 1 minute into the second reel that the title song starts.
And again, you talked about the score before, and those are the moments that I miss from today's Bond movies. It's really the sleek build up with the music, and then to all the fanfare and the brass with with all the mutes and all the growling and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I miss that. I miss these times.
Fantastic. Yeah, really. And that's why I have it on my mobile phone, because every time you listen to it, you discover something new. You hear a new instrument or something. Yeah? It's really
there's a lot of facets to it. Zachary just wrote, I do know the scene was originally written to take place in Cuba, then Geneva before they landed on Spain.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of shuffling around with locations for that film, and especially shooting in Turkey was troublesome because there was civil unrest at the time. So they actually went in with a unit to film under the film title Destiny, so that nobody thought, oh, it's a Bond film, we can attack that crew, because that will really go into the headlines. So the cigar is an interesting thing. When Bond gives Moneypenny the cigar and she throws it straight in the bin. Direct reference to the Clinton-Lewinsky scandal, where a cigar was used for foreplay. Clever thing they did. Because they always pick these things up and throw them in there. And you see them years later. Years later. You start thinking about that stuff. Hi, Gareth. Glad you're joining us.
Last time we talked about the wardrobe in Tomorrow Never Dies, which I think is still the best in the Brosnan era.
Yeah.
And I think Tomorrow, The World's Not Enough is not as striking because, for instance, if you look at this tie, what do you think of this tie?
I have to see it again. It's too colorful for me.
Exactly. I think so too.
Yeah.
It's also available, like the other one from Tomorrow Never Dies, it's also available at Turnbull Assa. But, you know, I looked at pictures and I wanted to get this, but it looks, I don't know, almost childish.
Yeah, with all the squares, and there's so many squares going on. That's I've seen that tie as well, and at Turnbull and Assa. Yeah. And here we approach the boat chase. King is assassinated.
That is, by the way, that thing with this oxidating stuff on his fingers. When we were younger, a couple of friends and I used to talk about this scene when we could never figure out what it meant and how it was connected to the bomb. It was complicated to get your head around when you were younger.
Absolutely. Yeah. Although it is explained later, but with many words that you don't know as a kid, so you just take it for granted that this whole thing blew up. And actually, they used a model to film that. We will see that in the behind the scenes. And this whole filming around the MI6, the actual MI6 headquarters, they tried to block it, and they actually blocked it. And it was then Foreign Secretary Robin Cook who said, we have to allow filming because Bond did so much for the UK. Now we can do something for Bond, and they allowed filming in and around, and not in, but around the MI6 building. But for this shot where it explodes, there was a big scale model used that you see here now in the behind the scenes footage, which leads us straight into the magnificent boat chase.
And one thing that you talked about, you referenced that last time, is actually on the soundtrack. It has a really weird cut in the track. It is right in the middle from the fanfare, and it sounds so weird. I don't, how did...
Yeah, it is weird. Why not just keep it as one single track?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you look at your mobile or your tablet, wherever you see our stream, there's that lovely behind the scenes footage, which runs about 6 minutes of the boat chase. Some of it you may have never seen before. It's always nice to share that material, because this was really tricky to film. I mean, it went over 6 or 7 weeks they filmed, and they had fantastic stunt doubles, and the whole Bond stunt crew, including Sarah Donahue, who doubled for the Cigar Girl in the racing sequences, and she had a background as a racing driver, so it was perfect for the job. And in total they used 35 boats to film that sequence.
And that's another thing, no matter if which Bond fan likes this movie or not, everybody loves the Q-boat.
Absolutely, yeah. That would be a fun gadget to have.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Imagine you on a lake in Switzerland, that would be fun.
Oh yeah. But you know what I never understand is from a sound designer's point of view. The original Q-boat had a very beefy V8 engine. I really love that sound, you know, from the old American cars. And they replaced it with this really nasty, sort of whiny turbo engine sound. It sounds almost like a leaf blower.
Yeah.
And I can never understand why they did that.
That's true. That's odd. And also from a sound designer's point of view, when we're speaking about that, when the boat makes turns, it makes a sound on the water, a screeching sound. which is
All right.
almost, this is impossible. I mean, no matter how much attraction the boat has to the water, it will certainly not make a screeching sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also fantastically edited,
Yes.
this sequence. Huh?
Yes. This is one of the action sequences. Even though it is very long, it never gets old. You just keep enjoying it, right?
Absolutely.
No?
Absolutely. And they filmed a lot more. Like the boat of the cigar girl had mortars in the back. And it will be in the behind the scenes footage. There will be scenes where the mortars are shot at Bond. But it made the scene overly long, I think.
Yes.
And here we are at Glengale Bridge, where he adjusts his tie underwater. Actually, an idea by Pierce himself.
Gareth just applauded that as well.
Yeah.
So what I would like to talk about as well is, of course, you've been to London many times, and also when you did the filming for Bond for Life, you've seen many of these locations, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And what was the impression that you had when you walked by? I mean, we talked about the GoldenEye Dam when we did the watch along of GoldenEye, but do they sort of bring up the same sort of sentiment when you're at these locations?
Absolutely. Although London is a working city, so it doesn't feel like leisure time that you spend. And going there where this was filmed, it was several locations scattered across London. Here, that scene is funny with the wheel clampers.
Yes.
And one of them actually was Ray Brown, the one with the glasses, and he was in a documentary soap about wheel clampers in the UK, and he was the nastiest one, so they decided to spray him with water. There was and they told him you will get slightly wet, so the reaction is genuine. So like these locations that we see now are totally different. This is not London anymore. This is Chatham Historic Dockyard in Kent.
Okay.
Where also the model submarine is today, but we will go to that later. But going back to your question, when he comes out of that restaurant, you see the Millennium Dome. And this is, of course, in an area which is a bit outside of London, not completely outside, but you have to walk very far. And when I was there the last time, I remember I walked through a good pair of shoes, and they were really broke after that. They were really broken. But yes, it is the same experience like the GoldenEye Dam, because nothing has changed there. It all looks the same. And to find them, this is like a hunt. You know? You try to find the perfect camera angle to take your picture. Certainly at Glengale Bridge. And that was fantastic. The only one I didn't visit was where the cigar girl goes through the police boat. That I didn't see. But the last time when we filmed A Bond for Life with Marcos Concev from James Bond Brazil, we were right opposite where the Q boat exits the restaurant, and you look towards Millennium Dome.
Yes.
That was really, really fantastic. And we sat there in silence and looked at it, and you are reminded. And yeah, it's this kind of feeling, yeah. A fantastic sequence. I mean, by the time the title song appears, I've almost needed heart pills or something.
Yes, that's right.
It's
and it's just it's really, like I said in the beginning, for the ones who just tuned in, those were the scenes that really, and that's why it's every time I watch them again they're so meaningful, because those were the scenes that made me the Bond fan. The music, the cinematography, the Pierce Brosnan, everything. It was just, as a little boy, this was really, it made a lasting impression. This stuff.
Absolutely. And we've just seen the stunt double falling down the Millennium Dome, which was very, very tricky to shoot. And the scene's now gone. We're in the title song now. But when you look at it closely again, the stuntman misses one pair of wires, and Michael Apted left that scene in there to show how difficult this stunt work is. I mean, nothing happened, but yeah, it certainly looked brutal.
It did, yes. You could feel the same, like with GoldenEye when he's hanging off the cradle, when he actually, bumps his crotch into the part of the cradle. You can feel it really.
Yeah, definitely. And that is good when the feeling transports to the viewer in that way. I think it's really it's meaningful.
Yes.
Opening sequence, of course, full of oil.
Yes, and Zachary just asked you, what do you think of Elektra as a character? He said, I'd almost watch a film with her as a protagonist.
Sure, yeah. I want to go into that more later, but certainly Elektra is one of my favorite Bond girls. I have to say that, yeah, definitely. I love Sophie Marceau, starting with that statement. Love the work she does. I've seen many films with her, French films with subtitles, because I really like her voice, I like her appearance, I like her acting style. And The World Is Not Enough was interesting because they decided to have more genuine characters in the script, and make them multi-layered, multifaceted, and I think that worked really well with Elektra King. Because I think in the early script stages it was a bit different. There was, oh well, how was that? The wife of, I don't know who it was brought on board. Dana Stevens was her name, to give the script a polish, and I think it was Michael Apted's then wife, Dana Stevens, and she's not credited in the title sequence or in the credits, because what she polished and what she added to the script was a deeper relationship between Elektra King and M. But that had the effect that it pushed Bond to the background, and then they got another writer, Bruce Fierstein, to polish the script again to put Bond in the focus of the film, the focal point again. So maybe we would have seen more of Elektra King. I don't know.
And the comment section seems to agree. Everyone is raving about Elektra.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we are in Stowe Park, Buckinghamshire. Gothic temple there, if you ever want to visit. Very nice place, very tranquil. Haven't been there, but was told so. No. Yeah, Sophia Marceau, great. She looks great in everything. She looks great in every costume. I love her face. It's just like that. Where are you? Nicely done. And a subtle display of sadness here. Of course, the famous Highlander Castle, Arley and Donnan Castle.
Andy, you might want to chip in now.
Yeah, near the Isle of Skye. Fantastic. Always wanted to go there. Never made it. Never made it to Scotland, actually. But I would. Here you get the explanation of what actually happened to Robert King. None of us understood it at the time when we was in cinema, because we were just too young. But it's interesting to read in the people's faces, and there's a lot going on in this scene. You have a female 00 agent sitting there, for everybody who loves political correctness, and there have been some female 00 agents being visible. You have M, who for the first time seems rather taken in by a situation that happened to her with the killing of her friend Robert King, and she's determined to resolve this situation and to find the people responsible, and she displays that very well. And Bond obviously being ignored here. I found that rather funny. And then he goes to see the doctor, Dr. Molly Warmflesh. What a nice name. They really sprinkled a bit of the old Bond girl naming thing in there. And the love scene she did herself. They offered a body double to her, but she declined and said, no, it's Bond. I'll do it myself. Thank you.
Yes, Andy, we would love to come to visit. Yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, and Arley and Donnan Castle, you can visit. It's open. You can see the inside, and it's good if you've also seen the Highlander films.
I'd also like to give a little credit to the World Is Not Enough Nintendo 64 game, because I think as well this location and also the ones before, they really, really captured the movie feel and look.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. I liked that game for many reasons. It had an improved slightly improved system from GoldenEye. GoldenEye was a much more fast-paced, and in The World Is Not Enough you had sneaking levels where you really could be detected.
Yes.
And then the mission was blown. I liked that.
That's where the famous quote comes from. Bond is here.
Yeah, yeah. And it was the first game that actually had voices. It has a
Yes.
voiceover. Yeah. But it wasn't as...
No Tomorrow Never Dies had that as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, obviously. But that was PlayStation, so...
Right, exactly.
Nintendo was a bit more difficult, I think, in terms of voiceover. And if you look at our stream, there's behind the scenes of filming the Q-Lab scenes with, of course, John Cleese, legendary Monty Python. No?
Mm-hmm.
And he just released a video today, Trump's Corrupt Circus. I found that really funny. And he goes on and on about Trump and all the men and women around him. It was really funny. Had the opening.
Are you into Monty Python in general?
Yes, definitely. I've seen all of them. It's ridiculously funny British humor.
That's funny enough. That's the first time I ever heard and saw from John Cleese was in Bond. Really, I never saw her before. It was then later. I'm not a big fan of Monty Python, but I loved Fawlty Towers and this stuff.
Yeah,
and
farty towels.
Yeah, exactly. And he does a brilliant job as Q. I think you know. And it's also cool that he lent his voice to some of the games that came after that, where he also reprised his role as Q.
Yeah.
So he was a really, really well fit for that. And I have to say, as a casting choice, it's really bold to go, because Desmond Llewellyn, of course, he was also a little bit of a comic relief to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But, I mean, John Cleese really pushes the envelope in that regard. So it was bold, but it was really worth it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Memorable.
Yeah. And also sadly memorable because Desmond Llewellyn died in a car accident just shortly after shooting The World Is Not Enough. And as if they had known that it would be his last performance, they gave him that goodbye where he presses a button. First he gives advice to Bond, the final advice, and then pushes the button and disappears. So like Merlin disappears on Arthur, on King Arthur. You know,
and can I quickly ask you something? This phrase that he says, "Never let them see you bleed." Do you feel, in the context of Bond, that it's something with a deep meaning, or is it just something? It feels like the writers had to come up with something. How does it feel to you?
Actually, I never thought about that.
Okay.
I never thought about that. About the deeper meaning of it. I think it is just a script thing because they needed something. Never let them see you bleed is something like you would say, never let them discover that you're vulnerable.
Yes,
something like that.
And of course, this scene I always find ridiculous these days. If you look at these old monitors and with touchscreen, you know, like right.
Yeah. But they actually got a BBC presenter to speak about the kidnapping of Elektra King being over. And they recreated the BBC set and everything. But actually, when you look closely on the Blu-ray, which has enhanced image, obviously, you can see that somewhere on there it says Elektra King has missing earlobe, some cut-off earlobe, which she reveals much later in the film to Bond. And if you look closely, you already know it, which is a nice... and one of many ties to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, actually.
Oh, goodness.
Albeit the title, The World Is Not Enough, Orbis Non Sufficit, is found in Bond's family crest. And the earlobe thing is actually, you remember, Blofeld in On Her Majesty's Secret Service wanted his Count status approved because he had no earlobes. The Bleuchamp family has no earlobes. One of many references to On Her Majesty's. I don't know if that was Michael Apted's decision or it was in the script stage. I think it was already in the script stage. And here you see a portrait of Bernard Lee behind the desk. The original M. Nice nod to the older Bond films. And this has happened more than once, I think.
These scenes here, they to me, you know, many times people say that Pierce Brosnan is good to look at, but he can't really act, and I just wholeheartedly disagree, because I think when you look at his eyes and his facial expression in those
Yeah.
scenes, he really carries something.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell that it's something on his mind, and that's
Absolutely.
and Judi Dench, of course, as well. You can see the tension that she's in, and just by looks, I find
Yeah.
it is really astonishing.
And I loved just that tiny little camera movement
Yeah.
over his shoulder,
Mhm.
and you see her eyes following him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's these little things that are brilliantly done.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's good that they didn't give more backstory to Elektra King and M, because I think the film would have suffered greatly from that.
Yes.
I think it's just enough backstory that these two women have, and later experience in the pipeline scenes. But yeah, M is really deep in something there.
Yes.
And she must admit that also she is not without fault,
Yes. Precisely.
which you did not have before.
And this little musical moment here,
Yeah.
this synth that you can hear, that was one sound that also stuck in my head. It is so menacing and threatening, really underlining the sort of appearance of Renard. Because
Absolutely.
now, in this version of the movie, of course, without the scene in the pre-title sequence, this is the first time you actually see Renard, sort of, and it's a really brilliant musical introduction to him.
Yeah, so true. And here's behind-the-scenes footage of the briefing about Renard, which they, of course, had to do without the hologram model. It was added later.
And that's a very nice effect as well. It's
Yeah.
very well done.
And there is a very interesting story to this bullet thing. There was an American railroad foreman, an engineer, Phineas Gage. Maybe you heard that story. And while they were building the American railroad, extending the American railroad, he was in charge of blasting through rocks to make the tracks go through. And at one day in 1800 something, I don't remember the exact date, a detonation from TNT blew a pipe through his head, right through his skull, which he survived. But after that, like in the film Renard with his bullet lodged in his brain, his demeanor changed and his personality changed drastically. He got aggressive towards other co-workers, towards his wife and stuff. So this is not without foundation what they wrote into the script. It was a story that really happened, and in medical terms, fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
really fascinating.
Zachary wrote, that's interesting. They asked Apted back to do Die Another Day, but MGM vetoed Eon. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, that happened a lot. MGM had a big say in a lot of things, in a lot of casting choices, in a lot of directorial choices. There were also other directors in the running for The World Is Not Enough. But I, for the life of me, I couldn't recall their names because some of them I never heard before, which goes back on them using unused talents. Like when they pick a new Bond, and the new Bond they pick will most likely be somebody we never heard of.
Yes.
To have fresh talent, unused faces, you know. And many directors, Roger Spottiswoode didn't want to do another after Tomorrow Never Dies. That was his decision, and Michael Apted was up for it, but I think not 100%.
Okay.
And that was felt by MGM, and MGM said, yeah, different direction, and Bond and New Millennium, we want somebody else. And yeah. But it's the usual rumblings of a Bond film, pre-production and production, where you have a lot of, I mean, look at the latest Bond film. Danny Boyle I would have loved to see a Danny Boyle Bond film, and he was just thrown out.
Now, I'd like to talk about these blades for a short moment because, of course, they're very famous for The World's Not Enough, but actually the first time they wanted to use them was in GoldenEye. There's some footage of the workshop where they were working around with the gadgets, and they had a prototype of these blades, a running model. And it even said in a comment that they scratched the idea for GoldenEye but reused it in The World's Not Enough.
Yeah. Here you can see behind the scenes footage, which was shot in Spain, actually. This Cuenca mountain range, Castilla-La Mancha, where they filmed the King construction site, the pipeline, with a lot of extras. And somehow, as you can see now in the behind-the-scenes image, they used a model car with Pierce going through these oil fields. I have never found out why they actually did it.
No.
I don't know. Maybe it's just a shot from further away or something. I don't know. Because he drove the BMW there for real. Third time BMW is used. And yeah. When you know what happens, we all know what happens later to the BMW Z8. And when BMW learned of that, what was in the script and what happens to the car, they were, of course, a bit... Yeah, their jaws dropped down. What the Bond producers were going to do to their beautiful car.
Which one do you think looks better, this one or the Z3 they had in GoldenEye?
The Z3, yeah. I don't know, the Z8. It was never a thing. It's never a thing. I've never seen that car anywhere. Never. I know a Z3, which is parked here somewhere. So people actually bought that, but a Z8 I've never seen in real life. Never ever.
I've seen some around here.
Really?
Yes, also silver ones, so really like in the movie.
Now maybe they were a hit in Switzerland. I don't know. Nobody here.
Okay.
I don't know. I've seen the 750 if Tomorrow Never Dies. Quite a regular, usual car you would find on the street, but a Z8, no, never seen it.
No. Okay.
Maybe it wasn't a hit seller in Germany. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, not if even Bond can't advertise it properly, so it gets to the people, then it must have been a shitty car.
Yeah. I love how that Turkish woman in the background just goes, oh, yeah, it's all great. They told me to wave my arm. It's really well done. And you see that location hopping, because there's an easy mistake people make. They think this is the same location, like later, where they filmed the nuclear research facility. But these were really two different locations in Spain. This one here is the Cuenca mountain range, and the other one where they shot the tunnel, and the tunnel was Pinewood, and the exterior scenes where everything blows up was Bardenas Reales. So usual hopping. And it's funny, Elektra reveals what she wants to do, and this was inspired by a 1997 episode of ABC News Nightline that Barbara Broccoli saw on a plane. And in the episode, it was reported that the last great oil discovery was in the region of Eastern Europe, and they talk about pipelines in that area, and that Baku would be a focal point of pipeline transmission, and oil is being put on ships and stuff. So this is also, again, as it has always been with the Bond films, a plot element very close to actual events. Which is something I always liked, that the Bond films are very close to what is actually happening in the world.
Yes. Another thing that sort of the Was Not Enough changed my perception, how I perceive the world, is ever since that movie, I really love those building containers, like you can see in the background, where they have little offices, makeshift offices just installed in there. There's also later when Davidoff goes to fetch his files. I just, as of today, when I see construction containers like these, I just feel like being in the Was Not Enough right away.
Yeah, absolutely. We go into the ski scenes. Look at the behind the scenes we prepared. I love these behind the scenes shots, because I know the Chamonix filming was very tricky, because they had an avalanche just before filming, and when that occurred, the production crew actually helped to rescue people from that avalanche and to help clean it up. So that was a thing nobody thought they would be thrown into, but it happened, and they were just there. So why not help? And I'm a skier myself. I know how tricky it is. I haven't escaped Parahawks before, but I've skied in some difficult slopes in Austria and in Switzerland. And when you go really fast, I know how tricky it is to... we also did some stuff with cameras. you have to do things over and over and over again. And the last time I skied was for my film A Bond for Life, and I know we skied somewhere where there was no lift, so I had to carry everything back up and do the scene again and again. It takes a lot out of your stamina. But it looks lovely on screen. And the pipeline you see actually here that Elektra shows to Bond is completely non-existent. I wanted to talk about another pipeline, the one you see later. It's made out of cardboard. But this is obviously where she plans to have the pipeline.
Those are also the scenes where Brosnan infamously talked about, where he actually the skiing sequences where he was kneeling down on a little cart behind a ski-doo, and he just had to fake skiing, and it was. I think you even dug out some of the behind-the-scenes footage where you can see it where he just arrives.
Yeah,
so it looks so silly.
Yeah, there will be 2 photos later of Elektra King, of Sophie Marceau and Pierce Brosnan being towed on these skis, although Sophie Marceau was able to ski, I think. But much of it was filmed with doubles, of course, with stunt people. And filmed with that little fly cam, a remote-controlled helicopter fly cam, really, really tiny. You see it chasing Bond here. And here you have a better shot of that. They also used it in the boat chase. Fantastic little thing. They started using it in Tomorrow Never Dies, I think.
The predecessor of the drone, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely a predecessor of the drone. Very, very easy to control. Very movable. And it could access areas where a normal camera, you would have had a different camera setup, a tricky camera setup, and a camera helicopter takes away all that pain for you, and makes that scene look really brilliant. Especially when they chase after him and the explosions go off. I mean, I love that stuff. That's how an action film must be.
Yes.
And from a sound design point of view, again, when you hear the snow being catapulted on one of these Parahawks windscreens, you actually hear that, and it goes into the camera right here in that scene. Yeah. It almost goes into your eye. That's the feeling you have. And it sounded fantastic on the big screen.
Yes.
Here are the pictures of Sophie Marceau being dragged on the skis. There's one of Pierce Brosnan as well. I know I put it in there. There it is.
Oh, yes, there we go.
And this actually, the Parahawk going over the cliff is like The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yes.
Because he then opens a parachute.
And very interesting when they talked about these Parahawks is when they were just parachutes and the engines didn't really do anything. And I love this. This bit comes just a couple of moments later, when Pierce Brosnan rips the parachute, and then you can hear the engine going.
Yeah.
That's real. I find that really effective.
Yeah, it's really great. That's really fantastic. Also, Chamonix was at that time, from global warming perspective, was a hell of snow. They really had a lot of fresh snow, so the problems they had on Tomorrow Never Dies, not having enough snow and having to bring it in a truck, they didn't have in Chamonix. They actually had too much snow.
Okay.
They had snowstorms and pretty much everything you don't want, because every minute costs you money.
Just a quick note about the sound design again, Ben. When we were talking about this little farting noise that the Parahawks do, that's like a little trick when you add life to objects, basically, because this Parahawk is like dying, it's like Of course, if he rips the parachute, of course, why would that affect the engines? Just a little. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it was ingenious to use these Parahawks. I've never seen them anywhere before or after. I mean, why would you? But they are a great element to that scene and to that film. I mean, you have to have something menacing following you around, and this was
Yes.
certainly the right decision. Other skiers chasing Bond would not have done the trick. I think it would have been less exciting.
But just come to think, these parachutes, these parahawks, are they part of exhibitions anywhere? I never saw them.
I think one or two were somewhere on display. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And here, when we see Elektra's villa, that is actually Küçüksu Pavilion on the Asian shore of Istanbul. But the interiors were shot back in London, in Bedfordshire, in Luton Hoo estate, which they also used for Thunderball and Never Say Never Again. So they always come back to these places. It is really great. Long-standing tradition of using rooms multiple times.
Yes.
And,
Again, lovely interior decoration. It's just, I would never want to live there, but it looks...
I would.
Regal. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Lord Lind would appreciate. Lord Lind would approve. So, like that. Yeah. No, really. It's great from the green and gold tones matching with the dark of her dressing gown. Really fabulous. And she looks great in that scene. And by then you already know or guess that her earring is covering something up, because you never see the other one.
Yes.
And the interaction is great between Pierce and Sophie.
Exactly.
It is really, there is tension. You can feel the tension.
But you never know on which side it will fall.
No. And you see his limitations, and he smiles at her. He knows what she wants, but he also knows he can't give it to her. And he sort of laughs it off. Only Pierce could do that. I don't think that any of the other actors could have done that convincingly. And she really has him in a tight spot there. And he has nothing to reply.
And Zachary brought up a good point, because I love when women wear dresses or shirts or whatever with floral decoration on it. And he just pointed out that she, in many cases, or in practically all the scenes, she has something with flowers on it.
Yeah, true. We're in the casino. And, of course, the X-ray glasses. That's a great thing. Where the actors were first filmed in their regular costumes, and then again with sort of translucent clothes, and this was matted together. It's quite a great trick shot. It's really well done. You see some behind-the-scenes footage of the casino scenes. And you actually see Zukovsky before you even know he's there. Where do you see Zukovsky before you know he's there?
I don't know.
You see him in that neon sign where it says Casino Le Noir. Yeah. And this is Buckinghamshire. This is Halton House.
Okay.
In Buckinghamshire. A really nicely done scene when he kicks him and takes the gun off him and pierces his tie to the bar. Always loved that. And then, of course, later we see it already here in the behind the scenes, the entrance of Elektra King in that glorious red dress. Fantastic. Years and years I was hunting the promotional pictures they did of her in that dress in a good high-res quality. So difficult.
Yeah.
So difficult. Today, high-resolution images are all over the place of every film. You get the best promotional material available. 20 megapixels and more. Back then, everything was like an ID card, size of an ID card.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
Bullion.
Yeah. Famous. He's a singer, isn't he?
Yes, right. Musician, yeah.
Goldie. Yeah.
Yes, right. Zukovsky.
Yeah. Valentin Zukovsky.
Love Robbie Coltrane. He's
yes, absolutely. And he's pulling off a good Russian there.
Yes,
actually, like the Golden Eye. Yeah. And man, he's big.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
He's also a heavy smoker.
Yeah. But he really, it comes across as a sort of a genuine oligarch Russian portrayal, because with these totally girls too young for him, and greedy for money.
Yes.
Him and the girls, and it was a great role for Robbie Coltrane.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I'm so glad they brought them back. It's really
Absolutely.
a great
That's
choice.
absolutely. Good product placement for Smirnoff there,
Yes.
obviously. Oh. Yeah. Have you tried caviar?
I have, yeah. I think it's quite delicious, but it's to me it's just in many cases, well, maybe once a year it's okay at Christmas time, but it's just way overhyped, I think. What do you?
Not regularly.
Yeah.
I mean, there have to be special occasions, I
Hmm.
think. I know at my film premiere for A Bond for Life, we had caviar, we had the black
Yes.
one, and we had the orange one.
Hmm.
People loved it. People,
Yes.
I didn't get to eat anything of the whole buffet because I was busy with other stuff, talking to the guests and um, did the occasional autograph. I mean, you were there.
Yes, yes, but I just think caviar is just a matter of it's like it's the experience. It's not really that it's that delicious on its own. It's okay. It's delicious,
Yeah.
but it's more about the thing. Oh, I've ate caviar.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean they come in really small packs. I mean, at least in Germany, ridiculously expensive,
Yes.
but enough for one piece of toast. I think that's
Yes,
basically
right.
it. And there's a lot of fake caviar around. So
There was, by the way, the German company Nestle.
yeah.
They opened a caviar factory just around the corner here.
Oh really?
Yes, but it only survived about 1.5 years before they went broke.
Huh. Why?
Yes. Well,
Did nobody eat caviar?
no, I just think I think it's really caviar is the big brands, they're all Russian, and I think when people want something exclusive as caviar, they go to known brands.
Sure. Yeah.
No.
Absolutely. Yeah. By the way, I'm not having Nestle. I'm opening that now because I'm a bit of a yup for chocolate. The Milka Oreo. It's a nice advertisement, by the way. I have my own product placement.
Yeah, well, Milka's fine.
Yeah. By the way, I'm having gin tonight. What are you having?
I'm having a bit of homemade iced tea and a coffee.
Oh, again! Ha! How original!
How original.
Ha! How original! Thank God we're not playing that game. I
Yes,
like
and-
that scene. I love that scene. You know
Yes.
why?
Because of the guest appearance of Michael G. Wilson.
Michael Wilson, yeah, who I think signs the. Yeah, he stands here behind the
Yeah.
blackjack table, obviously, and Elektra signed in with him.
Mhm.
I love the different close-ups they did, which created a lot of tension,
Yes.
especially in a card game when you have close-ups of people who are playing. It worked well in Casino Royale as well, and in all other games that Bond played over the years. Yeah. And her delivery of that line, there's no point in living if you can't feel alive, which is so vital to the film later. And then everything here fits together. The set design, the costumes, the makeup,
Yes.
and Pierce in character admitting this is a game I can't afford to play. Telling her more about the whole thing than he probably meant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not that he probably meant, but
And the thing is that scene is very vital. I mean, it's one of those scenes where you go like, oh, okay, let me just fetch a drink. I mean, they're just playing card games here. But actually, it's really one of the crucial scenes where it's basically not about the card game. It's the payoff.
absolutely. Yeah.
And this scene also very, very atmospheric, very
Yeah.
tense.
And this is Pinewood Studios. They actually have that cave there. It's not a purposely constructed set. There is actually this funny cave. Don't know why. They have a cave on their grounds. Maybe that's where they keep the bad press,
Maybe.
especially of this year. I mean, going a bit off topic here, but they, in all the years since 1962, they have never had such bad press like this year.
Okay.
Never ever. Not during the troubles of the trouble production of Tomorrow Never Dies, and the script wasn't finished and stuff. But never ever before in all these years of Bond they have had such bad presses this year.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing. I mean, sometimes bad press is a good thing, but this time around, I don't think so.
It's probably it's too much.
Yeah. This is the first time we actually really get a glimpse of Renard and his willingness to go to extraordinary lengths
Yeah.
to push his plan through. I mean,
And before we started the live stream, we actually talked about Robert Carlyle when he did his interviews off screen. We were fortunate that he pulled himself together to talk proper English. Sorry, Andy, in the movie at least, because it's really it's out there when he talks his original accent.
yeah, because he's proper Scottish. He's a proper Scottish actor. I love Scottish. I actually watched a documentary. No, it wasn't a documentary. It was a comedy series called Burniston. Really funny Scottish comedy series, but you really had to listen very closely.
Yes. I knew Robert Carlyle from the Full Monty.
Yeah, obviously, and from Trainspotting.
Yes, well, I never saw Trainspotting, but Full Monty, and that was not really a good movie to see before going and watching The World's Not Enough. Zachary just wrote, apparently in one version of the script, Renard had a pet eagle that killed people.
That could be, yeah. That could be the first time I heard of it, but it could well be. Yeah.
Okay.
And in the first version of the script, he had a different name. He was named Claude Serron, making him more French. And that scene is interesting because you see Sophie Marceau's private breast area. Private breast area, and it had
What a description!
what description her private breast area. I'm just trying to be really really careful towards Sophie Marceau here because I really adore her so much. But it needed 10 takes, that scene, because every time they did that, Pierce Brosnan did that turnover with her after saying enough ice for one day. You could see her private breast part.
Breast area exposed.
Private breast area how do you call that?
Exposed.
Exposure. Private breast area exposure.
Goodness.
Not wanted. Thank you for a PG-13. No.
Okay. Yeah.
No. But when you pause it at the right moment, you can still see it.
You little pervert.
Yeah, she has a little mole just above it. Well, I mean, we're sharing tidbits here.
Yeah, sure.
Tidbits maybe being the wrong word.
Tidbits, yeah, very nice.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Must be the gin and tonic. This is in the game.
Yeah, and I love those scenes. And by the way, that's also one of the things that I take away from the movie is that movie still makes me want to buy a Lada Niva today because it's a car that Davidoff drives, a Russian car. I just somehow love the design of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I think Pierce Brosnan once said that that's the only prop he kept from the Bond films was this credit card that pops open and the key comes out of it.
Because it's ingenious. Yeah. Replicas have been made. You can buy it. Andy says, I'm surprised you've heard of Burniston. Amazing. That's such a Scottish slang program. Hope you understand it. I did. Once I got the hang of it, episode 3 or so. I watched it because of that sketch they did with the elevator, voice-activated elevator. And the elevator had you know that one. The elevator had an American voice.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah. 11. You're just saying it the same way. Try an English accent. 11. What part of England are you from? It's hilarious.
It's
hilarious.
Fantastic.
The whole thing, Burniston, was great. You can't even throw a bottle of ginger. That was really great. And we are approaching the next Spain location now, when Bond sneaks on the plane, and they go to Kazakhstan. Which actually, the landing of the plane was still filmed in England. It was Royal Air Force Base Northolt, where they always did a lot of Bond stuff. But the rest, where the nuclear research facility is, the exterior, that's all filmed in Spain, in Bardenas Reales.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Don't know. It looked good. It was a lot of open space. It was a huge open space. I think today it's a protected area, nature reserve. It's really a rugged area where you can do a lot of stuff unused, and much like that crater in Morocco, or the scenes where they shot the Living Daylights, the locations in Morocco. Lots of open space, desert space.
Yes.
And these countries, I mean, they get incentives when you film there. It was like that in the 90s. It's like that today. It's really a great thing. The only thing that they have to do is clean up afterwards. So.
And Andy just said he loves your Scottish accent.
Is it on point then? I mean, I trained years and years for it.
And again, yes, I agree with some of the comments. Again, that is a great piece. It's also one of the pieces of music I have on my phone. What was the name again? Body Double.
Yeah.
Also a fantastic piece of score.
Yeah. And they found good actors here to pass as Russians, so it's really good. They look menacing enough. And I mean, a bag full of these sports shoes. I mean, ridiculous as payment.
Yes.
I mean, Pierce's look on his face was probably genuine.
Yes.
I would have looked like that. I would have looked totally surprised.
So you're safe. Your Scottish accent seems on point, as Andy confirms.
That's really good.
Coming from a Scotsman, yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Really.
I love this. This scene always makes me laugh. How they're all randomly just smoking. You know, it's so full of Russian cliches. They're just smoking, and they're all, you know.
And there's dangerous nuclear stuff in the background, of course.
Yes.
Where you normally have chickens.
Yes.
It has all the symbols on it. Yeah, great. The best way to learn Scottish is to listen to people like the Scottish First Minister.
And Zachary just pointed out, why are they all bald?
Yeah. Good
so
question.
funny.
Good question. Here's another behind the scenes for you.
Well, they work with nuclear stuff. There's your explanation.
There you go.
No.
And we are now being exposed to totally different nuclear stuff. Dr. Christmas Jones. Played by Denise Richards, of course. What did you think of Denise Richards?
You know, she got a lot of hate, but I think she serves a purpose in the movie. To me, it works fine.
Yeah, nice tidbit.
And can we talk about Claude Oliver Rudolph, please?
Oh yeah, please do. Please do.
General
German actor
Akakiewicz.
Claude Oliver Rudolph. Yeah. So what do you say? How is his character name?
Akakiewicz.
See, and for years I called him Colonel Akakiewicz.
Okay.
I don't know why. I'm too German for that. But Claude Oliver Rudolph, German actor.
Yeah. And,
oh man.
Yeah, quite a character.
Yeah. Denise Richards, she thought the part was great because Dr. Jones is brainy, and the audiences did not agree. This is the worst Bond girl ever, and she got a nomination for a Razzie Award, worst actress in a film, in a Bond film that year. And in her autobiography, which is called The Real Girl Next Door, she actually wrote that she was not felt welcome at the film set. She wasn't treated nicely by the director and everybody else.
Okay.
So she did not have a good experience filming.
Okay. But, I mean, come on, let's be honest here. I mean, like I said, I find her part is okay. She does an okay job. But, I mean, when you're script writing and you sit down and say, okay, we're going to have Denise Richards. So what is she going to play? A nuclear physicist. I mean, at least one person in the room must have laughed his ass off.
Yeah, definitely. Because there are others in these scenes who are a lot older, and they are scientists. And she is like, what, 29?
Yes.
And she's a full-blown scientist. I mean,
yes. And all the comments go like, she's dressed like Lara Croft, which I agree, that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was on purpose. That was a nod to Lara Croft. Absolutely. Yeah, they did that on purpose. Yeah.
And by the way, just saying, the Russian phrases here by Brosnan and Richards, they're so bad. Sorry to say.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's really...
You say that from a constant Russian speaker's perspective, obviously.
No, I have a bit of a thing for Russian, so
Right.
But it's just like we said in the last couple of Bond films, you never take these things too seriously. But I mean, you could clearly tell that he's not Russian, or that he's never really, he plays a Russian character, which he could have never pulled off with that accent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
The sets, fantastic.
Yeah,
Faded,
definitely.
worn out, really.
Yeah, definitely. And we will have some footage later of the sets actually being designed. Because that was in Pinewood, and the exterior is in Spain, in Bardenas Reales. But they really, like they do in the other films, they really construct all of that from scratch. And really, really great job they did. Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And you have to always take everything into account. Like you see all the railings, the metal work, the tiling. Then you have stones and gravel on the floor.
Yeah.
All these things you have to think of. It's not there,
Absolutely. My Blu-ray is buffering a bit, is acting up a bit. I don't know, I might be a few seconds late now. Tiny glitch there. I just try to get it in the right order so that I'm not falling behind and watching.
But a little compliment from being James Bond. He says, Bond Bulletin, you always have stellar graphics, so well done.
Oh, thank you very much. Joe Darlington.
Yes.
Really great, of Being James Bond. Really, really great. Also great YouTube channel. Check it out, guys. If the situation around COVID should worsen, we need all our YouTube channels to pull together to provide entertainment. Being James Bond, certainly one of them. Absolutely. And the Bond Experience. They often work together, like we do now. Yeah, fantastic interaction between Brosnan and Carlyle.
And you often talk about these scenes here where Bond is ready to kill in cold blood.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is he right? Would you have done it?
Yes, absolutely. If you look at the background and the story, how it unfolded and what he did, yes, absolutely. Would you have?
Probably. I don't know. But as Renard says, kill me, and Bond rightly says the shot would alert all the men from above. So you always have to look at the situation. When you have, I think, a license to kill, you have to evaluate the situation closely, and that's what agents do. That's what police does. They're well trained at special units, counter-terrorist forces. Every situation is different, and a split-second decision must be made to change a situation for the better or for worse. I mean, that is the essence of pretty much everything. Yeah.
Yes.
And but this scene is really nice because you feel that Bond, he really means business. If you look at the behind the scenes now, as how the scene was filmed. Claude Oliver Waldorf again. I love him. I haven't seen him on TV recently.
Yeah, that's right.
He's he's a strange character, actually. Yeah. He's rather strange. He's I think he had a lot of trouble with the law.
Yes.
And he's always starred in German TV series as a sleazy guy. Sort of, I think he was in a series about the red light district in Hamburg, and he played a very sleazy pimp.
Yes. That's not too far off. Yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't seen him in ages.
Yes, that's right. I think the last time I saw him was with the German comedian Kurt Krömer.
Yeah.
I visited him.
Yeah. Zachary asks, who would you have cast as Jones instead of Richards? Do you have an idea?
No, I have this thing when I watch a movie, these things become inherently, connected, and I can't imagine another actor having played her.
That's true.
There was a comment at the beginning of this stream when one said that I think Sharon Stone was considered for Elektra King. Again,
Yeah.
a move I couldn't imagine how that would look like.
Yeah, that's true. I have the same feeling. I would probably pick an actress which is roughly the same age as Denise Richards. Yeah, because you would have sort of gone for the same type. Being James Bond says, I would have cast Carrie-Anne Moss from The Matrix as Jones. That's of course interesting because she was a bit older than Denise Richards was here. I think Carrie-Anne Moss was a bit in her 30s. I don't know really. Don't know.
I think what was that English actor's name? The one I love so much, the from the Avengers, you know, from Captain America, the English actress. You remember her name?
Oh,
The one I
yeah,
find so pretty.
yeah, I know. Oh, let me
Uh,
think.
I just gotta look it up.
Captain America? Really?
Isn't it Captain America?
I don't know. You have to look it up because I don't remember.
Yes, English. Haley Atwell. There we go.
Oh, Haley Atwell. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Bit posh.
A bit posh, probably, yes, but you know,
Yeah.
maybe with a different accent and so on. But she
Yeah.
surely, you know, oh, that's a great thing to say in these days of political correctness. But she certainly has. How did you call it before? The private breast area.
Oh, the private breast area. Right. Okay. No, that's not politically correct, Yannick.
I know.
Really, I have to insist.
Well, you know, if you want to have political correct show, then you have to get someone else than me. That's really not my strong suit.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as having Conchita Wurst play a Bond girl, but okay. Things happen in dark alleyways. Really the wrong thing to say.
Yeah, yes.
I
Yeah,
loved
I'm
how
very.
Renard, to go back on topic here, how Renard displays that no pain feeling when he gets shot in
Yeah.
the arm and doesn't give a bit, you know.
Mhm.
That's really, really well done. Yeah. And also this was very, very, very tricky to film because at one point Brosnan's gun jammed. Just, you know the type of gun that this is. You remember that faster than I do.
Mhm.
The machine gun. Which one is it? It's something
What?
with 80 in it. What's the machine gun that they use here?
MP5K,
No, the other one, the big one.
P90.
Exactly. That one jammed on Pierce Brosnan when he was going through the wall, and
Okay.
the connecting door cuts this delivery wagon just before he goes to shoot Renard. Which we will later see how they filmed that scene. So we see that after the film in the discussion. There's a bit behind the scenes how they shot the glass and everything, because they really had the gun mounted on something and shot the
Oh
glass.
yes,
And
exactly. Right.
then
Right.
they did a second shot with Pierce. Yeah, really, really great. Great scene, great tension there.
Yeah. Great tension.
Oh, a bomb. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so well done. I mean, I don't know. Denise Richards, it somehow never worked for me. It was sort of like the Tanya Roberts experience from A View to a
Okay.
Kill.
Yeah.
I don't know. I appreciate the scenes where Denise Richards looks a lot better in the later stages of the film. You know.
It's funny. There's some comments that indicate that Christmas Jones should have been a bounty hunter. I can't really imagine that.
No, but there were script stages where she was supposed to be an insurance agent. But that was scrapped because Brosnan's film Thomas Crown Affair had the plot involving an insurance agent, and they didn't want any confusion in that area, so it was changed.
Wasn't when you just speak about the Thomas Crown affair? Wasn't it also when Brosnan was on the contract with the Bond producers that he wasn't allowed to wear a tuxedo in other productions? Was it that?
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
That was in his contract. He couldn't do another film to wear a tuxedo. That's why in the Thomas Crown Affair, where you have that dance scene, he is just wearing he's not wearing a tuxedo. He's wearing sort of just a dinner jacket and an open tie that just hangs here. But he could not have worn it properly made up as he wears it in Bond.
There we go.
Yeah. Lorenzo says, I love Denise Richards, the role. So you will always have different opinions on Bond girls in general. The way they are portrayed on screen. Given with what I said earlier, that they were going for stronger characters and more developed characters, that didn't really work with her, I think. No. But they had Elektra King. She was a very strong character. So.
And Andy just brings up an interesting thought. He just thought, what do you think Pierce Brosnan would be more fondly remembered as a good Bond if Twine was his last Bond film?
Maybe. Couldn't really say. Because I personally love Die Another Day.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with it. Never had a problem with it. Wouldn't say so, no. I think it's better to go out with 4 than with 3 films.
Yes.
Just I don't know. I have nothing to base that on, that comment, but... And
another thing is that the things that you learn with the Bond films, I mean, the whole Stockholm Syndrome thing, which is then sometimes you pick it up in the news and so on. And thanks to Bond movies, in this case, Twine, you know what everyone is talking about because you get introduced to these complex topics in a film, which I found really great.
Yeah. See, that Stockholm Syndrome is an interesting thing. We will get into that when Pierce speaks to Elektra. But that's just the scene right now. I might be a bit slow because I have buffer problems here.
Oh, no worries.
But that Stockholm Syndrome is actually an interesting thing that they brought it up. Many people don't know where Stockholm Syndrome comes from. Do you know why it's called Stockholm Syndrome?
No, not really, no.
There was a bank robbery in Stockholm, Sweden. And I think the guy's name was Jan-Erik Olsen or something. He was a convict who robbed a bank with a couple of his guys. And they captured all the staff working in the bank and locked them in a vault for the duration of 6 days, which is enough to get friendly with your kidnappers, with bank robbers, because for 6 days and nights you are locked in with these people and you speak to them and you learn about their motives and why they're doing it. And this was in 1973, and it was the Kreditbanken in Stockholm, and it was the 23rd to 28th of August 1973. And well, they befriended the bank robbers. And then you have stories like Patty Hearst, granddaughter of publisher William Randolph Hearst, who was also kidnapped by the Spionier's Lebanese army or something. And she later publicly asserted sympathetic feelings to her kidnappers. Also did while she was kidnapped. And she even, after being released, helped them in bank robberies. So there are many, many cases of famous people having had Stockholm Syndrome. And I mean, I don't know what I would do if I'm kidnapped, but my first goal would be not to be killed. So what do? You try to be friendly with whoever is kidnapping you. It depends, of course, on the person and the party that is kidnapping you.
Yes.
I mean, if you have guys like the Islamic State, it's really difficult to befriend them. Yeah. But if it's a bank robber or what else, and you try to be nice and friendly, you might get something out of that.
Yes. Right.
And I hope I'm in the right area now, but we see the Motorola building in Swindon, the ex-Motorola building, which had a heat exchanger as a roof, and they extended it with CGI to make it into the pipeline headquarters for Elektra King. I think it has been demolished. The building. Don't think it was used by a pharmaceuticals company called
Yes.
Vigon.
Uh-huh.
But I think the building doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
It was in Swindon, England. And there was much more filmed that they didn't use. The arrival of Bond and the arrival of M, and they didn't use that. I have a few behind the scenes stills that will be coming up now. Also, the filming in the pipeline with Bond and Dr. Jones, where they had a clever product placement, the HP Jornada, this little Palm Pilot thing. God, we're so past that today. I could do all of that shit on my phone.
That's a funny thing. What I never could understand is when they have the pipeline network on the screen, you can see they really go zigzag, so really sharp. You can see there. And I always wondered, how could these things travel so quickly around these sharp edges, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, that was something I thought about for years. But that was also in the Living Daylights when he is when he goes on the pig, on the swine, or how they call it, and you see it clearly going around a bend.
Yes.
I mean, how? How the hell?
No idea. But did you know this? I have no idea. Is it possible to travel through? Of course, most pipelines are then used to pump oil through. But in the building stages, do they really have these little carriages that they can travel with?
I'm not entirely sure.
Huh?
I'm pretty sure there are none that you can travel with. I think that is a film plot
Yes.
thing element. But I'm sure that they have some sort of cleaning equipment which must be the same size and form of a pipeline to clean it. I mean, I remember Diamonds Are Forever, when Bond was caught in that pipe, they had also this thing that was going through the pipe.
Yes.
This pipeline here, that's what I meant. This is actually cardboard. That part of it is a real pipeline in Wales, and the other part is cardboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can just tell you a little bit behind now.
Yeah, I'm a little bit behind. How far am I? Where are you now in the film?
The PDA shot right now.
PDA shot. Okay, I'm far behind. Okay, so she's actually doing the bomb.
So Zachary just cleared it up. He said, no, that's not a thing, and nor do pipelines have LED lights in them.
No. Can you give me a time frame where you are?
Yes, 1:17:30.
Okay, great. Ooh. Here you have a bit of behind the scenes footage of the pipeline. So, can you tell me please when you are at 1:19?
Yes, sure.
Then I start again, then I have a better
Absolutely.
don't want to be off that far.
Yeah, that's
wow,
yes.
it buffered a lot. So when you get to 1:19,
Yeah, it's 1:18:10 now, I will tell you.
really great. My system is leaving me.
But it's handling a lot. Oh, good behind the scenes pictures. Never saw these actually.
Yeah. These are the ones of the arrival of Bond and M separately.
Yes.
And they are nowhere, anywhere
Yeah.
on a Blu-ray. The shot of the pipeline model. Remember to tell me.
Yes, it's 1:18 now. It's 30. I'll give you a 5-second countdown, okay?
Right, thank you very much. Glad to
problem.
have you on board. I would have been totally lost without you.
Okay, so we go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 19.
Great. So that's where Elektra gives M the pin. Really nice. I've never seen M slap anybody.
Yes.
So it was really, really fun. And if you look at the behind the scenes image now, there's actually a drawing of the bomb that was done by a graphics company. They did all the things on the screens that you see in Elektra's pipeline headquarters. Fantastic stuff. I mean, really detailed stuff.
Yes.
It's fantastic, and they do a lot of these little things. All that you see on these screens is pretty much like what we have to do today. That we have a camera image back screen, and that we have a screen for the behind the scenes footage. I mean, that takes 1 week to prepare. And right when we're finished here, right tomorrow, I will start doing our backdrops for Die Another Day. So this is pretty much what they do for the Bond films. They have to imagine how things look like on screen later and what they need to program and visualize. That's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Shows the love to detail. I love his line here when she asks for the relationship between him and Elektra King, strictly platonic. Typical Brosnan, almost Roger Moore humor.
Yes.
Really great. Fantastic. What else do we have in the chat? Lorenzo says Elektra King turns so amazing. That's true. And as you say, Lorenzo, the surprise turn as the main villain, because all through 1 hour and 20 you were made to believe that Renard is the main villain, and then it turns out to be Elektra, which was a fantastic twist.
Is that the first time in a Bond film where you actually have? Yeah, I think so, right? Where you have one of the main characters then turning to the bad one. Of course, excluding Alec here, obviously. But
yes, it is the first time, and Okay, I could tell you the rest of that story, but you won't like it. But we have it in every live stream, so it's also
no. Hold on a sec. I said before.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't ask about after. I said before. Okay. Strictly, I know why I said it that way.
But maybe everybody else would want to know.
Yeah, go for it.
That in Casino Royale, Vesper Lind also turns out to be one of the villains because she turns against Bond. Yes. And that's about it. We're in Istanbul again. Oh, you're leaving. That's great. Maiden's Tower. Have you been there? No.
No. Have you?
No. But lovely. I would have loved to be there. Because great history of that little island where that is. And here, actually, you should realize that this is effectively a modern update of Goldfinger, the film. Because both stories of Goldfinger and The World Is Not Enough feature the contamination of and the destruction of an area that makes it unusable, in turn for the villain to get really rich out of that attack.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's true.
And going back to the Maiden's Tower, this little island was since the Ottoman Empire, since the Byzantine Empire, this little island has survived as a lighthouse and everything. And
by the way, Joseph just brought up when we were talking about before about the one of the main characters turning to the bad side, Christatos in For Your Eyes Only.
Absolutely. Although I thought him to be the main villain for most of the time, because what good did he actually do?
Yeah.
Not much. He was Bibi Dahl's uncle, and he sponsored her, but that was all that he did that made him seem good. But I thought, from watching For Your Eyes Only the first time, I thought Christatos, there was something fishy about him.
That's right, yes.
All the time. I never thought that Columbo was the main villain. Didn't think so. So sometimes you have an inkling, you have a feeling that somebody's bad.
Yeah,
and the kidnapping of M here also is not new. If you've read the novels, she was kidnapped in one of the novels. I don't remember which one. Help me out in the chat. And there was something about Baku, Azerbaijan, in The Man from Barbarossa with John Gardner. I think it was the main location of the story. So the script is basically made up of a lot of Bond references from different areas, from the books. Although it's not based on a Fleming novel, and they stopped with GoldenEye. They have to take their inspiration from somewhere.
Yes, right.
And this whole Stockholm Syndrome thing, and a lot of kidnappings in that film. Elektra King having been kidnapped, M is being kidnapped. First time M is really in danger.
Yes. And
But
again,
she's clever.
it's just, and again, it's such a modest and simple set, but it's just so memorable. They just, the Bond movies, they just have an impeccable eye for these things.
Absolutely.
Well,
And here's one next to the bed, in which Renard and Elektra are. There's one of these Blackamoor statues that I wrote an article on.
oh yes.
And they pop up throughout the whole Bond history, which is, of course, a racist piece of interior design that you could have. A Blackamoor statue, sometimes with a table, as if there's black people were there to hold a table. But they do pop up until The World Is Not Enough. It somehow stopped after that. You can see it here in that scene when you see a close-up of Renard, and you see the arm of that statue. And you find them in front of Goldfinger's estate. You find them in the honeymoon suite in Diamonds Are Forever. Pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
He's fun. Nicely played by Robert Carlyle.
Yes.
And
A lovely bedroom, by the way.
absolutely. Very. I love that candle setting. I'm a candle person. Obviously, nice tidbit. Even the laugh is weird. Yeah, so it's late. No, I really have people who know me. I have lots of candles around here. It's not just for the women. No. It's really in winter evenings, like we expect in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
It's really great when you come home from work and you have. Your home is your place where you should feel comfortable the most.
Right.
And candlelight does that for me. It's really nice. Just like it. M being very crafty here. I mean, she knows what she's doing, being the head of the British intelligence service. Yeah.
But that was that's a little bit that I always found interesting, and I still ask myself the question as of today if that would be possible with this radio, with this little clock, if that would be possible.
It could be, maybe it could be. We should test that. Should have an experiment on that, but we need sort of a transmitter thingy. I don't know, from a nuclear device.
Well, that's easy to get a hold of.
Oh, you can ask your Russian French.
I ring up Akakievich.
Yeah, Claude Oliver Rudolph. He's probably in prison. I don't know. Claude, if you're listening. Well, but if he would still be alive, they would have taken Klaus Kinski.
I love that set. Where is that also Pinewood? I think, right?
That's also Pinewood, yeah. And a very difficult set, the Caviar Factory, where they had a model built before to visualize the whole interaction with the helicopters, with Zukovsky's car, everything that happens, and it's like I always felt it's like a labyrinth that Pierce Brosnan has to go through, because so much happens at the same time. It's such a wild sequence, so crazy. A bit of Christopher Walken there, so crazy.
It was more like Trump, but okay.
Okay, so crazy. Yeah, I'm a good at Trump impersonator. It's like my Scottish. So there's so much going on. There's pipes letting off steam, explosions going off there, the helicopters soaring through the BMW Z8. I always think it was a bit much in that sequence, but it was certainly well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I just can't get my head around Robbie Coltrane. I mean, to me, he's a comic, but he's such a brilliant actor. He does such a good job.
Absolutely.
Multi-talented.
And it's funny that him and Bond are always going back and forth. They
Yes.
like each other, hate each other, like each other, hate each other. They help,
Yes.
and then Bond threatens him with a gun. I mean,
Yes.
and there we go. The destruction of the caviar factory. Great behind-the-scenes footage coming up for you guys. Have a look at our stream when the helicopters swoop in. I will trigger some behind-the-scenes for you.
And good point by Martin.
Here we
They use quite a bit of green screen here, but you can never tell where. It was really well done.
But very little. Very
Yes.
little. I mean, Brosnan did his own jumping around there, and I think he loved shooting with a P99, which is a fantastically powerful gun. I've used it myself a couple of times, and this weapon really has a thrust. And it's loud. It's excruciatingly loud.
And those were some of the scenes I remember back when there was the promotional phase of The World's Not Enough. Those were the scenes, the behind the scenes we can just see that they showed on German television that we also got here. Brosnan firing the gun.
Mm-hmm.
That was the footage that they showed in the news back then to promote the movie.
Yeah. And I mean, you see in the behind the scenes footage that he just runs over a part of the walkway and then he has to stop again and go back. So it is edited together of many small scenes. And the last time I saw that one where he is stopped by a production member,
Yeah.
I mean, I would have probably slipped
Yeah, me too.
and fallen into the water tank at Pinewood or somewhat. I don't want to be in Pierce's shoes. I mean, by that time, he had done the boat chase, parts of the boat chase. I mean, it was done by stuntmen, and the close-ups were done by him, and he really got wet. So, at some point, you maybe understand an actor's position to say, after so many years, I have enough, which was not
Yes.
the case with Brosnan. I mean, he would have gone on. But, yeah. Sean Connery, for instance, after You Only Live Twice, you can clearly see on screen that he wasn't interested anymore to play Bond because, but of a totally different reason, because he was followed around every step of the way,
Yes.
because he was so fantastically famous. I almost said something else there.
And I love how Robbie Coltrane laughs at Bond's car being taken apart.
Yeah.
Really little inserts that I love. And again, great, fantastic job. We were talking about Caviar Factory before, the track by David Arnold. Such a brilliant, he has such a good ear for these things. I mean, he keeps the Bond melody, he just waits for it until the car actually gets activated, and then he introduces the Bond theme, and he stops at the right places where the car shoots the rocket.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah. And there is one scene you can see Bond actually pointing his gun at the helicopter and not moving at all. Although in the scene before he already ran off.
Yeah.
Slight continuity error there. And I just adore this scene. One thing fits to another.
Yes.
And it's so snap, snap, snap.
Yes.
And then these men jump out of the helicopter and he starts shooting. And Zukovsky starts shooting, and suddenly oil drums blow up. Fantastic. I mean, for many people, this was over the top already. And then they saw Die Another Day. But fantastic dynamic that this scene has. Absolutely. Really love it. A lot of intertwined shots. Intertwined.
Yes.
Intertwined.
Yeah, good one.
Fantastic.
Good. I gotta go.
Great. Yeah, twine. Twine is actually what is it? It's duct tape, glue tape. Twine.
Okay.
Yeah, don't you know that? I keep my pants up with a piece of twine.
No, never heard that.
Because you're mine, please cut the twine.
Oh, beautiful.
Bit of Johnny Cash there. I'm a good singer occasionally. Joe Darlington says Arnold's score really makes the scene here. That's true. Is it too electronic for you here?
No, that's okay. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
It's Die Another Day after the or in the scenes in the Ice Palace and stuff that it gets too much for me.
Yeah.
This is perfectly fine.
Yeah. And I love these and then he starts another cue.
Yes.
So it's almost like in the English language, he uses his these little drums like linking words from one cue to another. That's the brilliance of David Arnold to
Yes,
me.
yes.
And Robbie Coltrane landing in a lot of caviar.
However, that never occurred to me like that actually looks like caviar. You know, it's just goo, black goo.
Yeah, it's even worse when you realize that this was filmed on Robbie Coltrane's birthday.
Poor guy.
Yeah, they filmed it on his birthday.
And this
Poor
was
guy.
this hilariously line that didn't make any sense, where he goes like, "Too bad we don't have champagne or sour cream." I mean, sour cream is nothing you would ever connect to caviar.
I don't know.
Why would you?
But that's her line. She's supposed to be brainy in the nuclear physics
Yes.
department, but not in the food safety department. Probably. I don't know. I wouldn't eat sour cream with caviar.
I never heard you would do that. No, perhaps you put it on blinis and stuff like that, but sour cream, come on.
I certainly wouldn't eat something in which Zukovsky swam in. I mean, that'll just look odd.
And I mean, imagine the amount of excitement he's in. So he at least must have dropped
Excitement.
two peas.
Excitement.
Yeah, he must have peed in that goo a little bit for a little extra flavor.
Yuck.
Yuck.
Fuyak. Brilliant. We have to do a watch along of the man with the golden gun.
Yes, that has to
I'm
happen.
gonna go crazy there. Full crazy. Fuyak. Fantastic. Oh, if all of you could see the German versions, you would laugh yourself silly. You would laugh yourself silly. The things they did when translating that.
And this Robbie Coltrane line, how am I supposed to explain this to my insurance? It's so great. And by the way, just a fun little fact, when it comes to dubbing, Robbie Coltrane has the same German voice, like if you're familiar with SpongeBob, like Mr. Krabs.
Yeah.
And it really adds a lot of that comic aspect to it, and I really find that hilarious.
Absolutely. Another fun fact, because we're full of fun facts here.
Yes. And tidbits.
Yeah, look at tidbits. Yeah, look
Fun
at
facts
this
and tidbits.
behind the scenes we have of the submarine, which was actually a model submarine, a remote-controlled model submarine. Brilliantly done, and here you see that it still exists. It's at the same dockyard where they filmed parts of the boat chase, Chatham Dockyard, and I think some prop factory has it on listing. You can buy it. It's 14 meters long, weighs 5 tons if you want to have it. Bid on it. And they used it for the exterior shots of the model. And here's your satellite image, and this is the actual image, how it looks now. They polished it up a bit. For years it looked rugged and run down, but it is still at Chatham Dockyard in England. If you want it, make a bid.
They were just talking about this here. I had to do a little bit of research for our game, which also has a submarine level, and there are classes, when you're talking about submarines, and this is actually a Victor 3, and the Russian counterpart is the Shuka, as they call it. So they got that perfectly right in the movie.
Yeah. Peter Lamont did the inside of the submarine at Pinewood. Peter Lamont was a great guy. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic work that Peter Lamont did.
Oh, by the way, just another fun fact. Someone tagged me in a tweet recently when we were just talking about props that you can get. They actually had the GoldenEye Makarov that Oromov used, or Godfidion, up for sale. I think it was $3,000.
Oh, nice.
So if anyone wants to get that.
Don't have that kind of pocket money lying around, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, neither do I.
Too bad. I mean, here you can see the size of the model.
Yes.
It's really amazing.
Yep.
When you see it on pictures, being on that display thing in the dockyard, it looks a lot smaller. But I think they used two things. They used a semi-submerged thing as the set. Again, Elektra King here wearing floral patterns, and now it gets difficult with the fourth gin and tonic.
Gin is kicking in, yes.
Floral patterns. If only I had a fuyak. Oh, we Bond fans have so much to go back on, don't we?
Yeah.
Gabor, great actor, John Carew. They asked other actors to play that part. They looked at something which really had a stature like that. And he doesn't do much in the film, actually.
No.
Oh, there she finally does it. There she connects
Yes.
the thing and it starts transmitting. Maybe that does work. I don't know.
And by the way, beautiful shots of Istanbul.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
This is what that unit did, filming under the alleged title Destiny, and nobody knew that it was a Bond film. I mean, it was almost like, I don't know, like shooting Octopussy in Berlin during the time the wall was still up.
And they did the same thing with one of the Star Wars movies when the second one, I think, The Empire Strikes Back, where they went abroad to do the filming, and they actually filmed it under a fake name, Blue Harvest, I think, or Blue Moon it was. So nobody knew there was that big production that was there.
Yeah. Oh, Andy just said, Peter Lamont I met in 1990 at a Pinewood convention. Like many Bond people, he was a quietly spoken man, so no showbiz, down-to-earth guy. Great, Andy. You are so lucky to have met Peter Lamont. Fantastic. And that's what I would judge from his interview bits that I've seen and from the pictures I've seen. Very down-to-earth guy, very easy to talk to. But many of them are like that. Many of the Bond crew are like that.
Yes.
There's a famous German actor in that scene, by the way, in the submarine scene. One of the dead guys is Justus von Donani.
Okay.
Great guy, always in German war films and stuff. And Gary Powell is in that scene.
Yes, right.
Not often that Gary Powell is actually seen on. I don't know why I'm pointing at the film with my finger, but okay.
Well,
I do these things.
I would beg to differ. Gary Powell can be seen quite a lot.
Yeah, or I just didn't notice him often enough.
Okay.
Really nice. I like that guy. That was behind Elektra King. I don't know why they didn't do more with him. He looked interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Don't know why. Sometimes they just do.
Yeah, that's just. It's like with that guard in GoldenEye in the control center scene at the you know, the one we talked about that stands behind, I think, Natalia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people they just have that interesting face.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. This scene is wonderful because she is so off. She is so off the rocker here, totally mad and insane.
Yeah.
And he realizes he's going to die, and he also realizes, oh, she's going to enjoy her life after that whole thing, and she's going to be rich and stuff, and I have to leave her now. But she's all happy and glorious. I mean, that is a villain quality.
And that is a good point you bring up. That scene was actually the scene where the first time the dynamic gets turned around. It's when she becomes sort of the main villain, and he becomes her henchman, so to speak.
Yeah. And the tables are turned fantastically.
Yes.
In a very subtle move that I didn't realize in the cinema. Yeah. And she's jealous.
Yes.
She's jealous of Dr. Jones by asking Bond, did you have her too? Because you know that Elektra wants to be the only one.
Yes.
And just today, with a student teaching English, I did character traits and how to find out from a written text what character trait a person displays. Elektra King, superb model for a character analysis. I mean, she displays so much.
Yes.
Especially when she goes into her scene, her speech about the oil. And when you look at the script and the family relations of Elektra King, actually her father was only a rich man. That was it. But I think that the whole company was owned by the mother. But she did not have a male heir to leave that empire to, the King Empire. And so Elektra tries to acquire it. And she's fantastically brutal in that scene. And nice that they dug out this little torture thing, that chair. Which
and
was a regular torture back in the day.
yeah, and just the pain in Brosnan's face is so, it seems so real. And his eyes get further apart almost. He really starts to get cross-eyed almost.
Yeah.
Have you noticed?
He plays that very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can also very well see the scar here on his lip on the left side
Oh, right.
that he got from Tomorrow Never Dies. Yeah. Yeah. Lorenzo says, I want to say thank you to you and your friend to review his favorite Bond movie. We're certainly passionate about what we do, and we love comments like yours that we can make you happy and have a great evening for you. That's what we like to do, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can watch our favorite Bond films. So.
Yeah, yeah.
The World Is Not Enough really stands out for me.
Yeah, for me as well.
Yeah. Even over GoldenEye, strangely.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as saying that, but yeah, it's definitely.
I would, because they learned how to apply layers to a film, how to make characters more interesting and more dynamic.
Yeah.
And with every film, throw more action in,
Yes.
just more. Audiences wanted that. I necessarily don't need it. But this film certainly has the right amount well placed.
Yes.
So you don't have the feeling one action scene is chasing the other just to have another action scene. Or that something happens so just that you can throw in another action scenes.
Right.
Which was the case with the Daniel Craig films. Some of it was on purpose, so just that you can blow something up. But this here, the tension here, increasing with every turn of the screw, is something really brilliant. And when she wants to put that kiss on him, and she hears the shots from outside and stops, fantastic. Great timing. It's all about timing.
Yeah. And I love Robbie Coltrane's appearance in these scenes.
Yeah.
Brrrap.
Yep. He looks like he has difficulties getting off the boat.
Yeah, I just noticed too.
But has no difficulties getting through a door. Oh, bam, here I am. Morning, all. Yeah.
That's great. Send off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
But yeah, he did not finish this calculation of her in the room and her viciousness. No.
Again, as a small boy, I never got. Was another scene that I never understood. I never made the connection between this being his nephew's head, so that's why he noticed that he was killed, Nikolai, and yeah.
Yeah. And actually, the idea, Zukovsky walked with a cane because Bond shot him during the Cold War. We know that from GoldenEye, and. Think about that. Get your head around that for a moment. If Bond hadn't shot him in the Cold War, he could not have saved him here in that scene.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought, yes.
So that goes way back.
Wow.
And the walking cane, I think it wasn't a cane in a book. I think it was an idea from Casino Royale. Somebody had a similar weapon. I don't know if it was a cane or something, but it was something similar. They took that idea from somewhere. But this is really something I had to get my head around first. If Bond hadn't shot him in the Cold War, Bond would have been lost here in that scene. He would have probably died. And also a great turnaround here. How he overpowers Elektra. And she is totally, what the hell is happening? But she laughs it off. She laughs at the whole thing because she's still so mad, and she thinks that she can actually go through with her plan, and it will all work out fine in the end because Bond really isn't an enemy for her. Grave miscalculation.
Bond!
And she teases him.
Yeah.
But it's typical for a villain, and all the villains in the Bond films, to tease Bond. They would have had so many opportunities to kill him off. But they keep him until the last moment. Well, actually, they made Emma T. Nice. Yeah. And the final scene between Bond and Elektra. Fantastic.
Yeah, and again, it's so great. That is Bond to me, almost getting into the Dalton kind of vibe here, where he actually, she fooled with him too much, and he just kills her.
Yeah, and
That's it.
there actually was a plan for Elektra to survive.
Hmm.
And the end of the film, Bond visits her in hospital where she's recovering from Stockholm syndrome.
Hmm.
It didn't test well with a test audience. Didn't like it.
Why?
And also, when they changed it, it was the first time he shot a main villain since, I think, The Spy Who Loved Me. He shot the main villain in The Spy Who Loved Me, Man with a Golden Gun. What else? Don't remember. But he kills in cold blood.
Hmm.
Here.
And this line always made me and my mother laugh because we always said, well, he said, I never miss, and I always said, after this scene, I always said, well, that's a great trick to pull off standing about a couple of inches away.
Yeah. Doing anything
Yes.
where you could probably miss. Yeah. M isn't too keen on, well,
Yes.
seeing her agent in that manner,
Hmm.
having just killed somebody in cold blood, and she had a personal tie to Elektra King.
Hmm.
And sadly, that scene was not extended, but also maybe that's a good thing that you did not have an exchange between Bond and M there,
Yeah.
because she would have criticized him,
Hmm.
and he would have tried to say, "Well, it's my job,"
Yes.
and she was a bad character. I had to, and it's good that they did not do that.
Hmm.
Because I mean, they all know what they're going into. The
Yes.
agents of an intelligence service, well, mostly it's a desk job, really. It's not that like they run around like James Bond. I mean, we've
Exactly.
seen that in thousands of documentaries. But whatever job you do where you actually have to kill people, if it's an anti-terrorist force or something, nobody will ever question your decision making
Yes.
in the time a decision has to be made.
Yeah.
When the authorization is given for the individual operatives to take the decision themselves, nobody will question it afterwards. There is no such thing like in Mission Impossible. If they catch you, we will deny all knowledge of your existence.
Hmm.
If our German anti-terrorist force is in different waters, really, really a strange situation, and they are given the authorization to act upon their own belief and intelligence that they have,
Hmm.
they are authorized to fire and to kill. And nobody will ask questions
Yeah.
afterwards because the terror situation has been assessed. And yeah, that's it. And I think that's the way to go.
Now, many of these submarine sets, it goes way back to Hunt for Red October and these things. They are on cradles where they can actually cradle around the thing, and of course they're much larger than it appeared to be, because of course, as opposed to shooting on a real submarine, they have to get the cameras and the lighting and all the stuff, which you can never do on an actual submarine. So that's why actually they resort to sets in these cases.
Yeah. Have you ever been in a submarine?
A real one?
Hmm.
Yes, it was an interesting story when I went to Chicago with my father a couple of years ago. There was a Nazi submarine an actual Nazi submarine that they got into the American hands after
Oh,
World
really?
War II. And there was the guide that worked on that submarine for the first couple of years as a guide. He was actually a Nazi soldier who worked on that vessel, and he sort of had sort of a contract with the city, I think, to redeem, so to speak, which is
All right. Okay.
ridiculous thing to say, but to redeem himself, he worked as an actual guide on there, and it was an actual Nazi submarine. Very
Mhm.
interesting to visit these things, and very confining spaces,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
can just imagine the smell, when people would smoke and the toilets, and nobody could really shower, and so
Absolutely.
really ghastly environment.
I mean, a Victor 3 class submarine is a lot bigger, a lot
Hmm.
wider than the usual German submarines are, also the
Hmm.
modern ones. I've been
Yes,
in one in Bremerhaven.
yes.
And when we actually did our fan film in 1998, we were allowed to film inside in
Hmm.
that. The footage is sadly lost, but I loved it. And what I remember was going from one compartment to the other, you had to go through that round shaped
Yes.
compartment door. These here are a bit wider on the submarine, but they were really like an O. You had to dive through. It was really diving because they had these levers and you had to hold on to them and then swing your body through.
Yes.
Otherwise, you could not have gone from one compartment to the other.
Exactly.
And you most likely bumped your head.
Exactly. And for the ones of you who like older movies, Das Boot, actually the sets, they are still at the Bavaria Film Studios in Munich. I went to visit that set with my father a couple of years ago, and that was even a smaller set, and even more confined space. So and you know when you film in these locations, like in these scenes, you get thrown at with buckets of water, and it's just must be terrible to work.
Absolutely. Zachary asks, fan film? Oh yeah, ridiculous piece of film history. Yeah, it was.
No, it's not ridiculous.
Well, now it is. It was ridiculous.
No, I disagree. But anyway.
Okay. Yeah, well, you haven't seen the full thing. Your opinion would change.
We just have an interesting discussion about test screenings. Andy just wrote. Do you know, do they still do, not only Bond movies, but generally, do they still do these test screenings?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Haven't heard that in a long time, so I was not sure if that's still done.
It's done a lot. It's done a lot, mainly with very, very important films or very films where they expect a high box office return.
Yes.
It is customary, but you think of sort of how does that look like? So do they invite people by mail or something, or by email, and invite them to a cinema and say, hey, you're going to see the new, but don't tell anybody about it?
Yeah.
No. Today, these are most likely people from all walks of life who have registered for a test screening or something, and they are invited. And it's most of the time it's the same people. But they see different films, so it doesn't matter. So you always make sure that you have a room full of people. It might be 20. It's not like 600 people in a cinema who are exposed to one of these films, because you, of course, have to sign some sort of agreement that you say nothing about the film, that you don't leak any information, because otherwise we would know the plots of a lot of films. Yeah, well, you always have the same level of people who like that sort of thing, others like that sort of thing, and they are still performed. Yeah. Sometimes at the studios where a film is made, because they have their own screening rooms and for editing purposes and stuff. Yeah, I've never been at a test screening myself. Why would I?
No, neither have I. Now, this is basically now the part that we're in, and everything that comes after that is, for me personally, where the movie starts to fall apart. Now, these scenes, those are still okay, but especially the end fight with Renard, I don't know. That's where they lost me with this movie.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it is a lot of underwater stuff again. It is the thunderball effect.
Yes.
It's what I call the thunderball effect. It's long. It's a lot of water. It's a lot of crazy camera angles. But okay, I like that. What I really like, and it's a scene I often use for, doing trailers and stuff, fan tributes. Renard being told that Elektra is dead, and he screams Bond in the face. This is a brilliantly portrayed scene by Robert Carlyle. Fantastically done. It's very small, but it's the small things, But the whole thing with Dr. Jones being caught up and she's screaming James brings back feelings of A View to a Kill with Tanya Roberts overacting, and it's overacting on Denise Richards' part.
Yes, and I think it's just too small a scale, because Bond is bigger than life, Renard's bigger than life, and they have this man-on-man everyday fight. It's just, I don't know. I don't want to say it's not enough, but it doesn't have the effect on me.
Yeah. But what I want to say, if I try to say it in the poshest way I can, this is of course important to some male Bond fans, because all the water has an astonishing effect on Denise Richards' private breast area.
Zachary just said the same. I like how you didn't mention Richard wet T-shirt contest for no reason.
Yeah, well, Oh, I didn't read the chat, but I did it just now. Yeah. I can
Funny
see
enough, I
the
never
chat.
noticed this.
What?
Her wet T-shirt. I don't know. It's just.
Well, her private breast area is practically poking your eye out.
Yeah, but it's. I don't know. There's your scream.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is a fantastically violent man, Renard. And it's all down to the actor. Always. It's always down to the actor.
Yeah.
If they would have, I mean, what other actor could they have taken for that role
Yes.
out of the 90s? I don't know. Let's just throw a random name in here. Let's say Robert Downey Jr.
Oh no.
No. Let's say what's his name? What's his name? Who always plays with Renée Zellweger? It's bad if you want to throw names and you don't remember them.
Kevin Spacey?
No, not Kevin Spacey.
Christopher Walken in
Yeah,
this
really. Christopher Walken, yeah. I don't know. It must be believable. Robert Carlyle plays things very, very, very believable. I actually have to approve your comment of tidbits. Okay.
And that's what Andy wrote at the beginning of the stream, where he said that Robert Carlyle is a very moody guy, but comes down to actually very methody actor. So when he's just in a role, what are you laughing at?
Sorry, I just read Joe's comment. Private breast area at your service. Sometimes things like that crack me up. Continue, please. Continuar. I speak a lot of
No idea where I left off.
Oh.
Robert Carlyle, yes, very moody guy, but comes down to when he's, very methody actor, and when he's, when he's in a role and even off screen, then those method actors, they tend to be very much in their roles, so they can be hard to talk to.
Yeah. What I like is the last two faces, the last two close-ups of Renard, Robert Carlyle, before Bond pulls that lever. Renard knows he's going to die. Renard knows it's going to hurt. And his look is that of desperation. He knows it's over. It's very difficult to pull that off.
You think it's desperation?
Yeah. He knows it's over. He knows the next thing that will happen is he's going to die. And it's very difficult to pull off a face like that, compare it to Elliot Carver, compare it to Alec Trevelyan or Gustav Graves. Best performance by Robert Carlyle. Just this one little close-up.
To me, it's a mix between, like you said, desperation and also a little bit of this, well, at least I tried.
Yeah. And maybe also, going one step further, thank God it's over.
Yes,
Thank God I'm done. Had enough of all that shit. Thank God he puts me out of my misery.
Yeah.
Brilliantly played. Yeah. And of course, the final scene.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Really love that. Millennium Bug. Great shot. Yeah. Yeah.
The fireworks in the background, yes.
She looks really good there.
Yeah.
I would have gone for her.
Well, it's too bad. In the last couple of years, the shots and pictures that you saw of her, she looks really...
in that shot, obviously. I don't mean 20 years on.
Yes, of course. But I said in the last couple of years, there's pictures that you saw of her.
Yannick. I don't want a thing like that sweeping over Braunschweig. That's going to be embarrassing. Fantastic. Really great. Some people thought that was an over-the-top joke and completely useless, but the way these professionals, the MI6 professionals react, and everybody knows what's going on, and Judi Dench's reaction, fantastic. I mean, and she loved these tiny little bits.
No.
I mean,
tidbits,
yeah.
Yeah, there's a tidbit for you.
Oh, great. Lovely sparkling thing she has on her arm. Really nice. Yeah. Pierce, you old nasty man. And fun fact, first film since 1969 to not end with a reprise of the opening theme
Yes.
or an additional song.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the stretch between 1969 and 1999. They always had something else.
Mm-hmm.
Always the reprise of the main title theme. Great film, fantastic. Always a joy to watch. Absolutely fantastic. We're not done yet. Don't leave yet.
No,
I mean,
no.
if you have to go walk the dog or something, you can. Absolutely, no problem. But we're going to go into an open discussion. So everything you want to discuss about Bond. We still have some behind the scenes coming up. I have some photos and some videos for you to keep you in here for a bit longer.
Why don't you stay?
Just a little bit longer. You have to sing along. That's actually the part.
Yeah.
It doesn't work simultaneously.
No.
Does
Certainly not on Skype.
Effects editor Peter Bond. Great.
There we
I
go.
thought he was on the German version of Fortune Wheel.
Okay.
He did. It was his name was actually Peter Bond. German edition.
Oh,
of
yes,
Fortune
yes, of course. Yeah, right. Peter Bond. Yes, right.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Well, actually, there's here's a destination. Some of you might be familiar with the destination Zermatt, which is famous for the Matterhorn.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a location just next to it, which is called Saas-Fee. And one of the women who work at the tourist office there is called Yolanda Bond.
Oh, really?
And not only that, she's called Yolanda J. Bond.
Wow, great.
I always when I have to call her up, I always jokingly say, "So when are we going to marry?" Just so I can take the name.
Bond Zenhäusern.
No, just Yannick Bond.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does that
Sounds
work?
terrible. I know it doesn't make sense. Sounds terrible. Yannick Bond. There's no ring to it.
But it's actually okay. But because there is a thing about long names, long first names, and short last names. So my name is optimally paired with a short surname.
Mm-hmm.
Yours fits well. Yannick Bond also does. Don't know, for some strange reason. But it's when you want to marry or something, you look around. How does your wife's name sound with your name? And sometimes it just doesn't fit. It's the ring is not there.
No.
And I've recently had it. I had my best friend, Sarah. She married in Hanover, and he took her name, which is good because her name is Mac Elhone, which is derived from Irish, not Scottish. Irish I can't do. I'm sorry. I can only do hit or fucking. That's
great!
all
That was fantastic. Really
yeah,
believable.
cool, fantastic. Yeah, believable. You can get through all of Belfast with that. Yeah. And his first name is Marco. So this goes well with a long last name.
Yes.
And with data protection, of course, obviously. Yeah. So I told everybody his name. Okay.
Great.
Well, that happened.
Well,
That
fantastic.
escalated quickly. Okay. Moving on. Thank you guys for coming along to watch The World Is Not Enough. If you have any questions, if you want to talk about the film, please pop us a message in the chat. Right now, for Pierce's third film, I want to evaluate his overall performance, having arrived at playing Bond, being the character James Bond. I mean, he had to earn it like every actor before. You are not automatically Bond with the first film, right? With GoldenEye, he established himself very well in the role, but he looked different in Tomorrow Never Dies. He looked different in The World Is Not Enough, and certainly in Die Another Day. He was a constantly changing actor who brought a lot to the part that I loved. And I want to hear your version of his progression through the films from GoldenEye to The World Is Not Enough, excluding Die Another Day for the moment. We can do that next week.
Yes.
But what do you think is different in The World Is Not Enough compared to GoldenEye?
It's a good question. Now, in GoldenEye, now in hindsight, saying I love GoldenEye over everything, but in GoldenEye, he almost seemed a little bit like an extra almost. Then in Tomorrow Never Dies, he was this very, very over-the-top, suave, sophisticated agent. And in Twine, it was actually, to me, it felt very rugged, very dark, very intense, you know, very, almost like when we compare it to other Bonds, very Dalton-like. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Very real.
Okay, I have
Would
the
you agree with
same.
that?
Yeah, I have the same feeling. What I see through all of these three films, again excluding Die Another Day for now, he has a progression that is phenomenal, really.
Yes, yes.
Because I also thought in GoldenEye he was much more like a puppet driven through the story.
Right.
Which changed in Tomorrow Never Dies. He was more present on screen from the actor's portrayal of the character of Bond. And in The World Is Not Enough, this was even enhanced again. And he is a really good actor. I mean, let's say that publicly and openly for everybody who hates his portrayal of Bond and the films that he did as Bond. He was a freaking good actor.
Yeah.
He still is. I mean, I saw The Foreigner and a lot of other films he did where he played shady characters like secret agents, and his portrayal is always on point. And I know that one film where he played an assassin. That was a recent one. It wasn't The Matador. It was another one. But I forgot the title. I thought, if you give him a Bond film now, he could still play Bond.
Absolutely. I agree.
He could still pull it off.
Yes.
And also, working with him on set, that's what everybody said. He is a great person to work with. Easygoing, very approachable, hardworking. What would you want more?
Yeah.
To be your Bond.
Yes, right.
And for me, he portrayed the... many people say this is actually a negative aspect, that he is too clean and... I don't know. This was fitting.
Yes.
And this is what I wanted. This is what I knew. I mean, the first contact was GoldenEye. Then there was Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough. He always looked clean. That was the Bond I knew. That was the Bond I grew up with. And I wanted Bond to be that way.
Exactly. Just so.
Yeah. Of course, in between I saw the other Bonds. But they were on the same page. They were like that. They never got bloody. They always came out perfectly dressed out of every fight. And Pierce Brosnan continued that tradition.
Yes.
Yeah. So, from that aspect, he was perfect. Absolutely.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just a bit of male jealousy, you know, that a lot of men are just jealous of his incredibly good looks, you know, so that would just willfully bash him, you know, just so to make themselves feel better. I don't know, but I feel the exact same thing what you said. It's his portrayal of this almost bigger than life character, of this always debonair kind of spy, is just, that's what I picture Bond to be. You know, leave away what Fleming wrote, leave away what Sean Connery did at the beginning. To me, Brosnan is what Bond is about, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and people in the chat do agree. Lorenzo says Pierce Brosnan is a fantastic Bond. Andy says Die Another Day didn't build on this film, sadly, which is what they could have done. It has a lot to do with the director, what they want of their main actor portraying Bond to do. So it's not always the fault of the actor. There's a lot. I mean, John Glenn, fantastic director.
Yes.
Did work very well with Timothy Dalton, and Timothy Dalton not being an easy character, being a Shakespearean actor, portraying the role of a British secret agent, long-established character, which is more like, well, you just play it the way you think you play it. But John Glenn's direction was always on point.
Yes.
Yeah. Great thing he did. And he had to work with two. We had to work with Roger Moore, brought Roger Moore through the 80s, and then Timothy Dalton.
Yeah.
But Pierce Brosnan actually being the only actor who had the whole 90s to himself.
Right.
Yeah. This never happened before.
Yeah, right.
Roger Moore had to share the 80s with Timothy Dalton. Connery had to share with Lazenby. Pierce Brosnan is the only person who has the entire 90s to himself. So, of course, I was influenced by this being the Bond of the 90s. And I mean, the promotion was on point. It was Brosnan here, Brosnan there, Bond, yeah.
And that's...
Brosnan is a man who looks good in his younger years playing Remington Steele, then playing Bond, and today.
I think it's an interesting point you bring up. The whole promotion. It was in the 90s. It was much better handled than it is today.
Absolutely, yeah.
In every regard, you know, the promotion, the stills.
I agree.
The what do you call it? Not the franchise. The you know, the material they put out. The not goodies. What is it called? The stuff that you can collect. You know.
Collectibles, yeah.
Yeah, it just you know, you had the Motorola and you had this and that, and then it was just, yeah. Today you don't have anything of substance. It feels like, you know.
I just want to quickly ask Andy to pop me a message in the chat because he said interesting to hear you guys as Brosnan was your entry to Bond. Yeah, well, I was at the time of GoldenEye. How old were you at the time of GoldenEye? 1995.
Andy just wrote back. He just said, "Oh, the Connery was his first. His role would be Roger." Yeah.
Yeah, but what Connery film was your first? I mean, I was 14 when I saw GoldenEye. Wasn't even allowed to because it was rated 16. I was just allowed to see it with my mum, together with my mum. Then you had a parent with you. So.
And I was 9 when I watched Twine for the first time. My first Bond movie in the cinema.
Yeah. So, but interestingly, I would also put Roger over Connery, just like Andy.
Me too, really. Yes.
I have a problem with Connery films, not because of Sean Connery, by the way. And Andy just said Diamonds Are Forever at age 10. Wow, in the cinema at age 10. Bold. GoldenEye at the age of 5. Yeah. I don't believe that. Or do I? There's a bit of an Austin Powers moment there. No, I put Roger above Connery because I saw the reruns of Bond films on German television in the morning and the weekends or something. And they played more Roger than they did Connery. Because, let's be honest, Dr. No is boring. It is a boring film.
Yes, essentially, yes.
Yeah. But then again, it isn't. Because when you look at it, it set the standards for everything that came after it. But the story in itself is boring. The only interesting thing is when you look at it from a historic perspective of the whole Bond story from 1962 till today. And you know all the people who are involved with that. And you know Ken Adams' work and stuff. You appreciate what Dr. No is. It is basically the cocktail mixer in which you made the whole Bond cocktail. And they did it again with Goldfinger. Because they mixed in the Aston Martin DB5 and stuff. But for me, Dr. No is very hard to watch.
Dr. No, yeah. It's pretty...
But what I like is the establishment of the Bond girl. Beautiful, elusive, strange, whatever. Bikini, Ursula Andress, Swiss export. So the villain lair, beautiful design, great set design. The music, I mean, back then it was a bit of it was a side effect, the music, but but the further films from Russia with Love and Goldfinger have certainly built on that. And if they would not have been there, I would have probably never touched Dr. No again.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Just
right.
said, okay, it's a boring film. I'll watch again. But still.
Well, I think it's also with the both of us. We watch a lot of movies, and I think inherently, without even wanting to, I mean, we both enjoy our older movies, of course, but we get used to the newer things as well. And so I think the older the movies get, the harder it gets to watch from today's point of view. And the Roger Moore films are a little closer to how films are done these days than the old Connery ones, because when people ask me, I can just speak for myself, which are your favorite Bond movies? I always judge it not by the quality or by the historic impact it had, but only about how many times I rewatched them. And it's, of course, it's the Brosnan ones first, then comes already Roger Moore, then perhaps Dalton, and the last ones I go back to is Sean Connery.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's that kind of line, yeah.
Yes.
What do you think about Sophie Marceau? What's your evaluation of Sophie Marceau playing Elektra King? What was your first exposure to Sophie Marceau?
It's interesting. I see when I hear you talk and when I see the comments in the section, how much people love her. It's not that I have anything against her or that she's a great character and she works for the movie, but to me it was never a standout character. It was never something particularly caught my attention for some reason. I'm not a big fan of Sophie Marceau. She does a great job in this movie, but other than that, I've never seen her in another movie. And yeah, to me, she's, I don't want to say replaceable, but she's okay for me.
Okay.
It's not the biggest fan of her.
Would you like to have seen Sharon Stone as Elektra King?
No. She's too ordinary for me. She's too rugged, I want to say. Sophie Marceau has this quality that gives her, almost a regal appearance.
And Sharon Stone would have come with an image.
That's right. Exactly.
Having done Basic Instinct, having done Sliver.
Yes.
Erotic thrillers mainly.
Yes, and also Casino.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which she was very good in.
Yes, absolutely.
Sophie Marceau, I had the first contact, as I said earlier on a live stream, La Boum, which you speak French. It translates to the party or something.
Yes.
Because in German it was called La Boum, the party. Where she was at the time of filming, I think she was 13 or 14 or something, and it was a teen romance in two parts. There were actually, it was La Boum 1 and La Boum 2. And I loved her in that, and I saw it when I was rather young. And did not have exposure to any teen romantic dramas. There was no sex involved or anything. It was just a teen drama of teens falling in love, using a very young Sophie Marceau. But she was natural. And I like natural women.
Yes.
What I absolutely detest, and I see that so often on buses and trams, I like to watch people secretly. I'm not a pervert, but
no.
I just like to observe,
Yeah, I do too. Yes.
And women today with their fake fingernails and can't even touch letters on their phone,
Yeah.
I like natural women who have natural fingernails, decent makeup, nothing over the top. I mean, if you want to look like Cleopatra, okay, no problem. But it was Cleopatra's job to look like Cleopatra. And not yours, women of today, thank you. And Sophie Marceau always was a very natural woman, a very female-looking woman. And she was, for me, the right choice for that character. That she turned out to be bad in the end was a surprise, definitely. But I think I liked her even more.
Yeah, it's a good point you bring up, because the turnaround you have to pull off. I mean, you could never imagine a Denise Richards kind of actor pulling that off, being the Bond girl first, and then being the main villain. So you really have to be a strong character and like you said, an authentic and almost a little bit dominating woman to be able to pull that off.
Absolutely.
And I agree with your observations, by the way. It's just something I detest these days is when you see girls walking around, they look like 23, 24, and you ask them how old they are, and they say like 14, 15. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know why in the world did they think that this is attractive, all these fake fingernails that are sometimes that long. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And like you said, the amount of makeup and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Zachary just brought up a good point as well, which I haven't actively noticed, but it's actually true. Elektra King or Sophie Marceau in this picture has beautiful hair. It's really like a lion's mane. It's really, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Which is a great comparison, because a lion's mane actually makes him stand out from the rest of the lions. Yeah? I don't know if that was intentional, but certainly the makeup and costume department of the Bond films has always done a tremendous job. Being Trump here, tremendous job, fantastic. And yeah, that's true. Lion's mane, great. I would have never thought of that. Yeah, great. Robert Carlyle.
Yes.
What do you think, Robert Carlyle?
It's a little bit. I'm a little bit torn when it comes to him because, like I said, I made the mistake of having seen the full Monty before The World's Not Enough. Fortunately, he looks completely different with the hair. You know, when he's shaved bald and with the little eye thing he has, the eye injury that he has, and so on.
Yeah.
But he again, it's a Bond villain that I don't often see cited somewhere as a villain in general. But I think he really brought something great to the part. Like you said, the very intense moments, just the stare. If you look at the behind the scenes pictures now, or the publicity shots, he really looks menacing. What do you think of him?
Absolutely. Very menacing character. I would not like to have crossed paths with him. Because sometimes the people in the background of a plot like The World Is Not Enough are a lot more dangerous than the actual main villains, who turned out to be Elektra King in that case, because they have nothing to lose. Yeah? And the most dangerous thing in a person who turns assassin or hitman for somebody else is having nothing to lose.
Yes.
These people are the most dangerous on the planet. And you certainly see that with attacks by Islamic fundamentalists who blow themselves up. They have nothing to lose. They have made their peace with their God, and they have nothing to lose. And I think these are the most dangerous. Renard certainly is one of those people. But as I said, when the scene was on, the scene between him and Elektra, where he knows that he's probably going to his certain death, because he was supposed to blow himself up. Incredible. I couldn't imagine being a character like that. I couldn't be as evil as that. I don't know.
I couldn't imagine that as.
So it's difficult to fathom
Yeah.
this kind of dedication to a cause where you would likely die.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap my head.
That makes it incredible. That makes the role incredible for me, and certainly Robert Carlyle portraying that character. If you look at other Bond villains who had that quality of going to their certain death, knowing it and doing it willingly.
Yeah, and especially if there's nothing in it for them. Absolutely, you're right. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Which brings us to Denise Richards.
Oh, can I just interject a little thing?
Yes, of course.
I think there's not much to talk about, but when we watched Tomorrow Never Dies, we had a character that did a brief appearance, Gerard Butler. We had a couple of actors who had a small role in that movie and then got, rose to stardom. And also a good choice, I think, was Davidoff, Ulrich Thomsen, a Swedish actor, I believe.
Yeah.
And after The World's Not Enough, and I think even before, he was in a couple of movies. I remember him most from that Hitman movie, which I think he did a great job playing the Russian, what did it, was it, the president, I think?
I think so, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, great casting choice again. I really did a great job portraying Davidov.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's difficult to portray foreign-speaking parts. If Americans play Germans, for example, that's always very difficult. And it's a directorial choice to go for native language actors who probably don't look the part instead of characters who don't or who are not able to portray the part correctly.
The fun thing is, I just recently watched Die Hard 3, which in the original language, the terrorists, the bad guys, are all Germans. You know, of course, in Germany, in the German version, it's, I think, Hungarian. They're Hungarian terrorists. But actually, they were German. And it was really hard to watch because, of course, as German is is my main language, they opted for all American actors who were really, I think, one of the worst jobs speaking German in the movie. I mean, even with subtitles, you couldn't even understand one word they were saying in German.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was subpar, really.
And that's often the case. Yeah.
Yes.
Should we do a fun thing and teach everybody in the chat some German? Do you have a German line from The World Is Not Enough? A short one, a really short one that's easy to learn.
From the German dubbing, you mean?
Yeah.
Let me think.
Let's teach everybody some German. It's fun.
Well, maybe the film title.
Okay. Die Welt ist nicht genug.
Mm-hmm.
Really? That's what you're going for. Okay. Okay. We teach you to say the German film title of The World Is Not Enough. We have to break it up into the world is not and enough. Okay. Do you want to explain it, or should the English teacher explain it?
No, please. That's your field.
Okay. So actually, the world, the article the is Germans have difficult articles. You can write it in the chat so everybody can maybe. Sometimes it's good to visualize it. Write the German title. Andy already knows it, being Scottish. I mean, they're really good on languages. Die Welt ist, our has a T behind it, so then you are in the right version of to be. Ist nicht genug. We have the CH on our not. And genug ist enough. Die Welt ist nicht genug. So everybody should be able to speak the German title. We know the foreign titles. I mean, I love. Only for this film. I don't know why. I know the Italian title, Il mondo non basta. And you always laugh yourself silly, but it's totally correct. Il mondo non basta.
It is, yes.
And the French is Le monde ne suffit pas.
Yeah.
What's the
Funny enough, I don't laugh there. I don't know why.
I don't know. It's like when I say sakana sushi, everybody laughs. What's the Spanish one?
Oh. Well,
I thought about that earlier on the bike, coming back from the horses. I thought, what's the Spanish title?
El mundo no es suficiente.
Really? Did you just Google that?
Yeah.
You sleek kind of fella. Okay.
But it's a good thing because actually that's a movie where all the titles match in every language, because you don't have that with every movie. Sometimes they're completely apart. The German and the English, for instance, when you compare them.
Yeah, except Skyfall.
The Living Daylight, for instance.
Oh yeah, Der Hauch des Todes, which translates back into English, The Breath of Death.
Yes.
Great, great, fun stuff. Okay, let's go back to Denise Richards.
Yes.
And I read in the chat, somebody wrote, I don't see because I have to scroll up and I can't because I'm in the technical side here. Denise was miscast. We spoke about that before, but who would we have picked? I mean, Denise Richards was in a film with Neve Campbell at around the same time The World Is Not Enough was made. It was Wild Things. And Neve Campbell, of course, being famous for the Scream horror film series. So would you like to have Neve Campbell as Christmas Jones?
I really have to look up a picture of her, honestly.
Okay. Okay.
Let me just quickly check. Mm.
They were together in Wild Things, which was rather a raunchy movie.
Yes.
I know I enjoyed it as a kid, but
Well, the thing I can say, just judging by the pictures that I looked at now, is that at least Denise Richards, you can say one thing. She has a very unique face.
that's true.
And
Yeah.
and Neve Campbell looks very, again, very ordinary. She looks like someone you would walk by on the streets, you know?
Yeah, sure. Obviously. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. I would. I always try to resort to actresses from that time period in which the film was made, and I can't think of many that I consciously knew in that time.
Hmm.
So, as you said before, it is difficult to replace a character you know so well
Hmm.
with another one. Um, and I think her character does not have that kind of importance, that level of importance
Hmm.
to replace her.
Yes.
And Zachary just wrote they considered Tiffany Amber Tyson for Dr. Jones as well. She was famous from, I think she was in Beverly Hills 90210
Hmm.
something. That's true. So they were practically fishing in the American sector
Yeah.
of what was on American television those days. Yeah. Um, I don't know if she was supposed to be American.
You know,
And yeah.
you know what? I could, guys, but I want to make sure in the chat first. I can make an analogy who Denise Richards looks like in some of the pictures, and it's going to spoil it for everybody. You will never look at Denise Richards the same way you did before when I throw in the name.
You tell that story, and I go to the toilet really quick.
Okay. So, guys, are you okay with me potentially spoiling Denise Richards for you? Well, if that's even possible, as I see many of you are not very happy with her. What do you think? Because, well, let's just go for it. I think in some of the shots, um, she looks a bit like Michael Jackson in his later stages, when he was completely white then, of course. But just in some pictures, especially, well, it was okay in The World Is Not Enough, but especially in the most recent pictures where she gets a little bit off and looks a little bit off, she reminds me very much of Michael Jackson somehow. I don't know, that's a crazy thing to say. But yeah, I don't know. I just can't help it. It's also the funny thing is, I wanted to bring it up, and I have to ask Benjamin after that because I talked to him about it. I always think that Michael Apted sometimes looks a little bit like a very slim Sylvester Stallone. So Benjamin, I just told the story that in some of the shots, Denise Richards to me looks like Michael Jackson in his latest stages.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's a bold statement.
And with the thing we talked about before was that to me, actually, Michael Apted looks a little bit like a very slim Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're right.
There you go.
Fun. The things you see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Incredible.
It's me.
I think we should look at some more behind the scenes footage.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Yes.
What's your favorite scene
Of what?
of The World Is Not Enough? We're having a World Is Not Enough live watch along.
Yeah, but I don't know if we're talking about the movie or behind the scenes footage.
Yeah, behind the scenes footage of a particular
Um,
scene, like in the beginning of the film.
Bilbao.
Okay, so the boat chase is your favorite. Really great, because I have something prepared.
Yeah.
Obviously. No, I wanted to look. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I wanted to look more at the boat chase.
You didn't even bother to make a segue, but
No,
okay.
no, I didn't. Because I really have some fantastic footage from the boat chase. There can never be enough of that.
Absolutely.
Really some great shots of Pierce filming. which they did with a camera rig on the Q-boat and without. And there's a funny story to that. Parts of these pictures are actually by David Williams. Don't mistake him for David Williams, who is a big Bond fan and comedian, an actor on Little Britain. But David Williams is a brilliant photographer and journalist who lived in England, now lives in the US. And he was there the whole time. Every single day they filmed The World Is Not Enough. And some of these pictures are from him. And he did the DVD... what was it called? Oh, for goodness sake. A View to a Boat Chase. Fantastic film, because he filmed it on his own home camera. And he moved along with the production crew from location to location in London and did fantastic photography. Sometimes better than the behind the scenes that the official channels put out. And I met with him in London in 2001, where we didn't even have Die Another Day in cinemas. So it was right in between. And he showed me around the filming locations in London, the Tobacco Dock, and everywhere where they filmed, where I saw how much walking that is. And gave me great insights on what was filmed where and how it was filmed and how it was set up. Really fantastic. And then that was the first time I got in contact with other fans who could show you stuff. And he even, I remember before I left, he gave me a newspaper with a report on the boat chase being filmed. And I don't know if that was the only copy of that newspaper he had, but because it was the original. And I thought it was so nice of him to give that to me. And it's still in my collection. And he has occasionally commented on what we do on my channel here. So David is still around. And it was fantastic. It was my first contact to location traveling. And to know how the Thames works and this whole setup in London. I mean, the Thames has a speed limit of, I think, 5 miles per hour. To film a high octane boat chase there with a Q-boat and a Sunseeker. I mean, the streets were lined with people watching the action and doing that barrel roll stunt that we see here in the behind the scenes footage. Gary Powell did that stunt in the end that ended up in the final film. Of course, they used a pump to shoot the Q-boat into the direction it was supposed to go, and here we see the actual moving footage. That's David Williams footage. Really fantastic. They did multiple takes of that, and they did takes that were not used in the film, like this one, where the Bond boat goes over a totally different area of the Sunseeker. And I know us too, we love this footage to look at that.
Yes.
And generally things going up in fire and flames and smoke. Also David Williams footage here. And actually you can hear his camera click in the background. I have the sound turned off here. But this is really great, once in a lifetime footage. I mean, if I had been there on location, and I'm that sort of guy, I have the camera running all the time if something interesting happens, which actually means that I see less with my natural eye.
Yes.
Sometimes that is a negative.
That's true, yes.
These are the pictures he took at the same time while his camera was rolling, from a different angle than the Bond production company, who had their cameras slightly to the left. So this is priceless. Andy said they had to get permission from House of Parliament. That's what I said earlier. Foreign Secretary Robin Cook pushed that through against a movement by another member of Parliament, and saying that Bond did so much for the country, we can do something for Bond.
Well, thank you, Robin Cook, in that case.
Absolutely. He was blind, by the way. Oh, Pierce looking great here.
And there's also some footage that you show me where you can see actually what Pierce Brosnan did. between takes and so on. And there was footage when he sat down at the docks and having a smoke.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some quite rare images here
Yeah.
that haven't been seen before. And my software tells me that there might be some dropped frames, so you might have some buffering issues. Sorry for that. Hope it changes. But okay, that's about what I have from the boat chase. In Die Another Day, we'll get less of behind the scenes footage. There's more, so please stay with us a bit longer. We have some compilations coming up of different scenes being shot. What did you think of the overall production quality of The World Is Not Enough compared with Tomorrow Never Dies or GoldenEye? Did they spend much money on screen? Did you see it being put on the screen, the money?
Yeah, absolutely. So the overall production quality was, of course, excellent, and really you could tell. But I think in each and every movie, but I think in The World Isn't Enough, and it's also the same thing that Simon Crane alluded to in one of the behind the scenes material, is that they set themselves the goals to make each and every Bond bigger and better and more exciting. And of course, you could tell, with the boat chase, with all the skiing chase, with the Parahawks, the caviar factory, and all that stuff. So you could see where the money went to. I think.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you here, definitely. I don't have the actual figures what The World Is Not Enough cost to make. Maybe you can look that up
Yes.
really quickly. But you definitely see the money being put on screen and the success it had in reeling that money back in. I think we have to look at Box Office Mojo. To look at that.
135 million US dollars. It costs.
Was the production costs, yeah.
Yes.
And you certainly see that money being put well on screen, and especially the boat chase. I mean, using 35 boats and 7 weeks to film. Chamonix as well. We see behind the scenes footage here. Very tricky to shoot. A lot of waiting time because of an avalanche, because of snowfall. There are always unexpected things happening during a production of any film. Anything can happen to you at any time. And every second costs you money.
Yeah.
There is an example of the film Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, which was filmed here in the town where I live, starring Famke Janssen and Gemma Arterton, both being Bond girls. That's the one you liked, by the way. Gemma Arterton. Yeah.
Yeah, that name's strange. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And when they filmed this witch burning scene here on the castle square, it was a day where they had a rain forecast, and they started shooting pretty late because they did a lot of test shots with the witch burning on a stake. And it was the final scene of the film, and it started drizzling just before the director yelled action. And the director was a bit agitated because people were taking photographs from their private homes overlooking the square, and the police actually had to come and ask these people not to photograph with a flash. Because the production had to start over again. They had to roll the cameras again, and the drizzle made it all worse, and every second I heard lost them $1,000.
Wow.
Every minute they were waiting for the perfect weather and for the perfect shot lost them $1,000. So imagine an avalanche disrupting the filming of The World Is Not Enough or anything else. I mean, look at that weather they had. Look at this. Look at these pictures. We haven't had a winter like that in many, many years. I don't know, you being in Switzerland, you have more snow than we have in Germany. I mean, I'm in the north of Germany. We generally don't have snow. We have water and fish, but not snow. But it was really getting a problem.
Yes.
For the one production.
Absolutely, yes. And then again, if you think about generally how films are made, I mean, if you just saw some behind the scenes footage of Brosnan running, of all this setting up, and I just imagine it always seems so glamorous and bigger than life and so much fun. But, if you have to do this, come down the slope 3, 4, 5, 6 times, do this running bit 7 to 8 times, I just can't imagine how, and you know, then sometimes you hear the actors talk about they have to sit around for hours just waiting for everything to be set up. I mean, if you take an action sequence, for instance, where they have to plant all the squibs and all the sparks and all the guns that have to work, and they have to rig the explosives and so on. It's just so much waiting and then doing things over and over again. I mean, this really must be a tiresome process.
Absolutely, absolutely. Although I really would like to be the person to push the button triggering an explosion. Just just one day, once.
Yes, absolutely.
Would be really fantastic.
And what were we just talking about figures before? So the budget of The World's Not Enough was $135 million, and the revenue, the box office revenue, was more than double. It was $361 million dollars.
Yeah.
And I think that isn't that about the production cost of a newer Bond film?
Yeah. I would say which is just slightly above the break-even point. Because that's almost slightly higher, always slightly higher than the production cost.
Yes.
I think they just went gradually over the break-even point. The current example today, maybe you've read it in the news, everybody else has. There is a fan petition to release No Time to Die on streaming, and they want to collect $600 million to acquire the rights for a streaming thing, which is about the break-even point plus a bit more. But, well, these numbers are horrendous, obviously.
But I mean, you know, if just what was the production cost on Spec? Did you just know that by heart?
No, I think over 200 million.
Okay, so let's say let's go to $300 million, which I think wasn't the production cost for No Time to Die?
I don't know. I think that went over 300 million.
Exactly.
I'm not really sure. I don't have the actual figures yet out of the top of my head.
Okay.
But they generally they get more expensive per film. Yeah.
Then let's just say I just looked it up. Spectre production cost was $245 million.
Right.
So it was $100 million more than The World's Not Enough.
Yeah.
But I have to say, The World Is Not Enough to me looked more expensive. It offered more for the money.
Yeah, that's true. Although I just read in the chat who wrote it. Let me just have a look. Somebody wrote the cinematography wasn't on point and looked drab.
Yes, Zachary wrote that. I just wish the cinematography looked different. There's something very drab about it, and I wish it was more stylish.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's true. It could have improved the film. I'm absolutely on one page with you there, Zachary. Things could have looked different in parts. Not the boat chase, not Chamonix, where they filmed the ski chase, but certain little things.
What are you talking about?
Not the way the action sequences were shot. Like for example, mood shots that you need. The pipeline scene, for example, could have been shot a lot different with more focus on Elektra King because it was her pipeline being attacked. And I would have loved to have more focus, more light intrusion on Elektra King than on Bond having the control over the whole situation, saying, oh, it's a bomb and he's going for the terminal. But okay, Bond is the focus point of the film, obviously. But in this scene, the pipeline, when Bond goes into the pipeline, he's off the scene. And suddenly Elektra King and M, they are the focus point of that scene. Because they have history together. I would have loved to have a more cinematic feel about that in terms of cinematography, maybe lighting. It depends. I can't really nail that down on a certain scene. And obviously the finale on the submarine.
Yeah.
A lot could have been improved there.
That I agree on, yes.
Yeah, definitely. Let's look at some more behind the scenes.
Andy just wrote an interesting comment. UK papers reporting today that Barbara and Michael are furious with MGM for allegedly negotiating with streaming services. Statement from them that their intention is to have cinema release. Yes.
Yeah. They're always furious. Yeah, I mean, I would be.
Yes,
This is
yes.
behind the scenes footage. This is actually what we talked about earlier. This is a construction of the set in
Oh,
Pinewood.
yes.
Which is a lot of plaster, a lot of cardboard and stuff, constructing the entire nuclear testing facility, and then actually filming in it. And here you see, we've seen these pictures before, but they are a bit more extended. But here you see the P-99 mounted on sort of a stand that held it in place, and it's being shot at the glass. And then in another scene, Brosnan is holding the gun and filming that scene again, and he has to adjust to what the director tells him. Look up at Renard going up in the elevator, and then look down where the bomb is. Difficult, because actually there's nothing there. Whenever you work with green screen or blue screen, which they didn't do here, I think I couldn't do that as an actor. I mean, I've worked with blue screen before, but it's very difficult to interact with something that is in front of you and isn't really there.
Yeah.
The background is not a problem. If the background is blue screen, no problem, because you don't care what's behind you. But when you interact with something that's in front of you, totally different.
And I think that's a fate that a lot of modern films suffer from, because many of these films are shot entirely in holes of blue or green screens, and you can just tell there's something missing.
Yeah, here you can see it in the behind the scenes. The P-99 is on a stand, firing the shot into the glass, and you can see it. So they actually fired a bullet, and this is great safety measures they had. Everything in a controlled environment. And then Pierce Brosnan filming the same scene with a blank. Wonderful. And then he's looking up, and he's looking down at the bomb, and turning around quickly. And then he has to stop again. I mean, this is not continuous. And this is the scene in the behind the scenes where the gun jammed on him, the P90. I mean, now it's going fine. And now it's suddenly jammed. And the only thing that it makes, the only sound that it makes is a sound. When it's empty, when it's jammed. And that, of course, in the flow of production, I mean, you have a certain workflow. It disrupts things. This is interesting. I've never seen that before. This is a green screen of the stunt man and stunt woman preparing the stunt of Pierce Brosnan falling down from the exploding balloon in the opening boat chase. Because not everything was filmed on Millennium Dome. Just parts of it. And you only see the edited footage here, and you also see how it is put together. That is interesting, because I've never seen it before. On an old computer system. I mean, it's not like today we have After Effects and everything to make everything look good.
Yes.
But certainly industry professionals. But look how that looks like. Looks a lot like Windows 95. Anyway, great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff. That's about all the behind the scenes I have. And Lorenzo says, love the stuff behind the scenes. Yeah, we'd love to provide this stuff, and we certainly will do it next week with Die Another Day. As much as I can find. I will spend one whole week preparing that. As of today, nothing has been set up. So basically what you're seeing, our foreground image has to be done for Die Another Day. And I really like it. I love it. I really celebrate these evenings together with everybody in the chat and everybody who's watching. It's fantastic. But I think we're going to take a break after Die Another Day for a couple of days, so that we can prepare new stuff. I also have ideas for a quiz.
Okay. Interesting, yes.
I also have a name.
Will you disclose it already, or is it?
Yeah, I could. I would maybe call it The League. Just like that, The League.
Leak or league?
The League. Like the League of Extraordinary...
Gentlemen, yeah.
Bondians. Something like that. It would be fun, because, I mean, I think you could do it with Skype, with 3 people on Skype.
Yes.
I can invite up to 50 people into Skype.
And what people do you have in mind?
I don't know. I think I would do a application process of everybody who would like to participate, and then I just randomly pick 3 names who will play against each other in a quiz round. But I have to think this through to the end, because you have to have a host, and you have to have 3 camera pictures, and of course in the end the final score will determine who is the winner. And then being the title of the quiz being the league, there would somebody being at the top at the end of the month, or the top 3 making them the league.
Oh, okay.
It's difficult to find a name for these things. Not the double O's. It's very boring. But that would be really interesting, because we have to. I think we have to think of things to keep people entertained.
Especially now, yeah.
I mean, we could do watch-alongs of all the films, but it gets boring at one point. I mean, I have a lot of behind the scenes to enjoy, but we have to find something interesting, challenging, entertaining, and competitive.
Yes. I was just wondering, we were talking about just quickly coming to Corona now, because of course it's a thing. You in Germany, you told me that you are in a lockdown light. We are shortly before it, and maybe you guys could write us in the comment section what the situation is at where you are.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe you could explain lockdown light. What does that mean for Germany?
Lockdown light. Oh, I have to call Miss Merkel for that to explain it to me fully, because nobody ever understands what actually is going on.
Right.
No, from the 2nd of November, lockdown light for us will mean that restaurants and bars will close, cinemas will close, gyms and swimming pools, and all major events are cancelled. And forbidden.
For how long?
For the duration of 4 weeks, so that at the 1st of December they can evaluate the situation new. What they are trying to do, and which is a good thing if they're trying to do it, is to have us have a good Christmas. I'm not a virologist, but of course for me personally it's total bullshit, because a restaurant or a bar in Germany, don't get me wrong, in Germany has not been a herd of spreading the virus, because they have spent vast amounts of money in having hygiene concepts and social distancing measures in place, having outside space for people to sit even in the colder days, and now they have to close again for the 2nd time in 1 year, losing the money, because the fun thing is, and that is what nobody realizes, the costs go on. Your personal costs and the costs of your business. You have to pay rent, you have to pay gas, you have to pay electricity. So this is what makes it really difficult to get behind this thing, because it's being carried out on the back of the restaurant and hotel sector and the artists and cultural sector. Because no theater is open, no cinema, the actors can't work, the directors, musicians, it's all closed.
Yes.
And 4 weeks are enough. And this morning I said, sometimes I say things out of context, and later I think, why did you say that? And I said, okay, this is also a way to get a country to its knees.
Yes.
But it's what I feel is happening. Because the response, the first response was okay in March. To have a total lockdown, it was okay. Our numbers went down, and the numbers in Germany were superior to all of our neighboring states. While their numbers were rising, ours stayed low, because we had a really great system in place And now the numbers are going up again. But I don't know. We have to learn to live with this thing. And who can say that the numbers don't go up from the 1st December on? Because people travel more. People will visit family. They want to spend Christmas together. Of course the numbers will go up. And 4 weeks of a light shutdown won't make any difference.
Yeah, and the fact stays that what the experts said, that actually in cold climate, the virus spreads faster than in warm climate, and you can clearly see the effect of that now.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't give a something. Yes. I can stay at home comfortably. I can stay with my girlfriend. We're having a good time at home. We see each other on the weekends, and we mostly stay at home. We sometimes go for a walk. But that's it. We go to the horses because we both care for our horses that we have to take care of. She has her horse. I have Lancelot, the one I share with his owner. And that's about it. The bad thing is that the toilet paper is gone. Again. That's my biggest concern, because I'm just a normal citizen not preparing for total Armageddon. And I'm on my last roll of toilet paper, and I just want to go. And all these crazy people bought heaps of toilet paper. I don't know what they're doing with it. And not just toilet paper, it's also flour and sugar and whatever. I mean, what are they going to do with it? Bake a cake?
No, not again. What, a toilet paper cake or what?
I have no idea. Maybe they bake lots of cakes and then they need the toilet paper really urgent. I have no idea, but it's just disrespectful. It's really disrespectful.
Yeah, selfish and disrespectful. Absolutely.
And not this whole COVID thing makes me angry. Is the selfishness of other people. That's what makes me angry.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that we don't get to see the next Bond film. That also makes me angry.
You know, Zachary brought up a good point. He's more worried about what it'll do to people's mental health, and I absolutely agree, because to be honest, and last time we went a little bit into this whole psychology stuff, but I can really feel the effects on me as well. I mean, I work with a lot of people at the radio station, and when I get back home, I like to be on my own in my private area. But what really wears me down is to have all these masks around. You can't really see what people do, or you can really see facial expressions. And I'm usually quite a touchy-feely person, and of course you can have none of that, not even with your best friends at the moment, and that's something I really suffer from, honestly.
You're a touchy-feely person.
Oh, come on. No, not again.
Sorry, just had to bring up this.
No, yeah, it's okay.
Tidbit.
But it's hard on the psyche, I have to say.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, I've been at the hairdresser's yesterday, and she said I'm wearing the mouth nose cover the entire day, and she finishes at 6, and she says when she goes home by 7, she can straight go to bed. Because you're just tired from breathing in your own air.
Gets you a headache. I noticed that as well.
Yeah, yeah. And now we under the nature sky, we are not supposed to wear it, or we can decide for ourselves if we want to. But our pedestrian zones now have a compulsory face cover.
Yeah.
So today, when I looked at the map, and I mean, you've been here. You visited me, and we have large pedestrian zones connecting the whole city. But in front of the palace, right in the center of the city, there is no zone to wear a mask.
Okay.
They excluded that. And I thought, okay, why? Because there's a large square in front of it. So, I mean, Germany is made up of 16 states. And for the time since the last lockdown to the lockdown light we will be having now from the 2nd of November, every state decided for themselves what to keep open and what to close, and what rules to enforce and which they didn't want. Some they didn't want. It's just a whole mess. No singular decision on a common level.
Yes.
But now this lockdown light is the only decision all 16 ministers of every state they did together with Chancellor Merkel. but on the cost of restaurants closing, bars closing, cinemas closing, going out of business. We have a lot of businesses closing. Our inner city certainly does look different than it looked 7 months ago. A lot of shops have closed, a lot of restaurants have closed because they went bankrupt.
Yeah, and that's going to be quite a sight when we get out of lockdown, or after this phase. And what I can't get out of my head is, one day people will look in history books and they go, okay, First World War, Second World War, Cold War, then they have Chernobyl maybe, and then comes Corona. I mean,
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
it's a huge thing.
yeah. I have a question for Andy, which is you don't have to answer it, Andy, but it's something that interests me. It is about that Brexit thing. I mean, now the European Union fighting that coronavirus, and Great Britain, the United Kingdom, technically being out of that, being singled out of that. It would interest me how you voted of staying in the European Union or leaving the European Union, because I think in the course of this pandemic, Britain could use the help of the European Union. Certainly everybody tying on one string, pulling on one string, and helping each other. And I know that Germany has plans to single out the UK, because the sentiment is, well, they want it out, they are out, so we're not going to help them if they need anything like masks or medicinal equipment or whatever. And I think, I don't know, I was always somebody who wanted to live in England, no matter where. Could be Scotland, don't care, as long as you give me a nice cottage and whatever, a garden I could care for. Oh, but in today's world, with the Brexit and everything, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Anyway, it would just interest me. I mean, I don't ask for political opinions of individual people, but I mean, so that we're all open to each other. Oh, why not?
Yeah, sure. Oh, maybe he's willing to disclose it, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Switzerland has such a high number, actually.
It's insane. Yes.
Because I would have thought that you, as being an independent country in the European Union, actually not being in the European Union, but being right in the middle of it, being independent.
And it's funny, and we often here in this region we asked ourselves, why Germany does not shut down, traffic and stuff like that. And I think that really comes down to that a lot of German politicians actually like to spend their vacations in Switzerland. That's why they're not so restrictive with the traveling. Of course, now it's prohibited, but it came very late on,
Yeah, I was fast this time. On Monday, Monday morning, I was still going out to all students in the week, driving to them personally. But Monday, I went on the tram, and I thought about it, and I read the news on my mobile, and I thought, are you crazy? Going on the bus and on the tram? In these times, touching everything.
Yes.
And literally 2.5 hours later, I wrote everybody was switching back to video. So my private lessons in English will all be per video. Only a tiny two families I'm going to visit personally, because the children have difficulties learning via a camera.
Yes.
They need somebody there.
But that's a very good point that you bring up, because now everybody's wearing masks and all this stuff. But I think what really gets lost and what people forget about is actually the thing that you say, all the contaminated surfaces and everything that you touch that is basically can have the coronavirus on it. I think that gets completely lost.
Absolutely, yeah. I got Andy's answer there. He said, I, along with nearly all Scotland, wanted to stay in the EU. It is politicians in England who wanted Brexit. It's madness. Yeah, it's most likely Farage and his party. Independence issue in Scotland now has majority in favour, as Scotland wants immediate rejoin the European Union. And I understand one essential fact in that, which is funny British politics. I think London promised Edinburgh that if they would the independence vote of Scotland being wanted to be independent, and if that vote would turn out in favor of London and saying Scotland, we don't want to be independent, we want to stay with the United Kingdom, which is what happened. I think, am I right? Yeah, of course. Otherwise, Scotland would be independent. London promised, in return, we will not exit the European Union. So Scotland was actually, what's the English word? It was fooled.
Betrayed.
It was betrayed, yeah, by London. And that is the politicians' fault. Yeah? And a lot of it is built on fake news and Farage's ramblings about whatever money the United Kingdom pays to the European Union. And this is so much going into detail. But and Scotland is a very proud nation, which is something very important. Because if you look at Wales, for example, would Wales say we go independent and rejoin the European Union? No, Wales is way too small. Wales has nothing they can sell, nothing they can export, absolutely nothing. On the other hand, I said that about Scotland before. Sorry, Andy. I said, what does Scotland have? Whiskey? What else? Yannick, come on. What does Scotland sell to the rest of the world? Whiskey? Sean Connery?
Bagpipes?
Bagpipes. 5 o'clock every morning around Buckingham Palace. I would go crazy. Crazy. But I think Scotland was cheated. That's the better word. Scotland was cheated by London. And they are now faced with, London's decision to go into Brexit, and they have to live with the consequences, which is horrible for Scotland. And I mean, I like Scotland's First Minister, who I use as a language trainer, Nicola Sturgeon. Just the way how she pronounces the word COVID.
How does she do it?
COVID.
COVID.
COVID-19. Yeah.
Yeah, and since we're in a Bond stream, of course, Sean Connery was very outspoken about wanting Scotland to leave, wanted Brexit as well. Funny enough that he doesn't even live in Scotland anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
I always find that funny. You know, that when you left your country for so many years and then you come back and want to tell people what they have to vote and stuff. I think that's a little bit.
I mean, Sean Connery, you can be very outspoken living in Los Angeles in your nice house and saying something about Scottish politics. You know? I mean, I'm okay with being basically what he said. It was a nationalist statement. I'm okay if you are for your country and if you are outspoken for your country. But I mean, he's lived in Hollywood for so many years.
Yes, right.
And how would you take it seriously if he advocates for any kind of political road Scotland is going?
Yeah.
I mean, he's just not the proper advocate for anything.
No.
I mean, I respect him a lot. I respect Sean Connery a lot. Although I must say I lost a bit of respect for him after I saw that documentary Everything or Nothing by Eon Productions, how he treated the Broccoli family after his departure from Bond. I really lost a lot of interest in Sean Connery and a lot of respect, certainly.
That's right. I mean, it just for me it displays a character flaw, because no matter how you turn it, it was the role, and it was thanks to them that he had a career, just generally speaking, and to then go and talk disparagingly about them, and it's just not a move. You don't do that. You can even if it's dirty laundry, you can wash that in private, and certainly even if it was true that they didn't pay him enough money or whatever it was, you don't go publicly to the people who made you and portray them like that.
No, No,
I agree.
there was
Yes.
certainly something wrong about that, about his outspokenness after the departure, and how he went on chat shows and practically stabbed them in the back. That was not a good thing.
Yes, and it was once explained that when he talked about Broccoli, really portrayed him as sort of a Bond villain, and it was also reported that allegedly really hurt Cubby Broccoli.
Yeah, yeah. And this also transpires to Barbara Broccoli because I think I remember in that documentary, Everything or Nothing, there was a point where she cried over that whole thing, and I thought, wow, this whole Bond thing is so personal to this family, and by the way, not forgetting Harry Saltzman. And this weekend, the coming weekend, actually, we announced it already. March is the weekend where Harry Saltzman's son Stephen has become a honorary member of the James Bond Club Germany, of
Very
which
nice. Yes.
I am a part of the executive committee. So. And it's we went to Stephen and we were in very good contact with him, and I've met him on 2 separate occasions, and that's nice that somebody of the Saltzman family turns into the German Bond Club and is an honorary member. That is something really, really great.
Yeah,
I really
agree.
love that. And I want to go back on Andy's comments, who says he's impressed with my knowledge on the sort of political side of that. Having an English heart, sorry to say, having an English heart, not a United Kingdom heart. It really doesn't matter anyway. I mean, you can hear it from my accent. I was raised with English. My mother spoke English to me. I am a loyal royalist, I would say. Yeah. So my head of state is the Queen, although I'm German. Yeah, but my head of state is not Angela Merkel, the Queen of Germany. If I could choose, I would rather more live on your beautiful island. Maybe in Scotland. Scotland is nice. I mean. A couple of years ago, I made fun of Scotland. So if you like nothingness, go to Scotland. Because for stretches there is nothing, and you see it in Skyfall. There's a lot of open space, but I like the whole of the United Kingdom, and my heart certainly is in the United Kingdom, same as the heart of their nation and people is in the European Union, and it is what it is. I can do a great impression of Boris Johnson, if you want to hear it.
Please do.
Go to work. Don't go to work. Stay indoors. But I don't know. Really. Ridiculous. All that stuff. Ridiculous. But I was on a pot school. I know how this works. But in any case, don't go to work. It's horrible. I should do it with I should do it with less gin. But yeah.
But the thing you said about Sean Connery, I find interesting because, and that was one of the best quotes I heard in the last couple of years when Ricky Gervais had. I thought it was the Golden Globe speech where he basically told all these actors and all these big shots, that alludes to what you said about Connery having lived in Hollywood for so many years and trying to tell Scots how to vote and what to decide for the fate of the country. Yep. And when he basically said, you know what, don't come up here on the stage to make political statements and stuff like that. Just take your prize and go back, because you all, from this Hollywood community, of the secluded Hollywood community, you're in no place to tell anyone how to live and what to do, because you're so far off from reality that you shouldn't be telling people what to do and how to live. Yeah. And I found that a very, very good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was also when I lost a lot of respect for Robert De Niro when he the stuff that he did over the last couple of years. I'm not a big fan of actors and musicians and starting to misuse their fame to make political statements. And I mean, I'm in no way endorsing Trump here, but just it just seems like a bandwagon thing where VIPs at the moment it's just popular to bash Trump. It's the easiest thing to do, and it gets him a lot of hoorays and a lot of praise. Oh, finally Robert De Niro spoke out against Donald Trump. I mean, yeah, it's the most popular thing to do at the moment. It doesn't take much courage to do that. And and there's no nuance to these things. It's just they just go on and yeah. And again, Robert De Niro again is one of these people. He has so much money and he lives in such a unreal world that we don't live in, and he wants to tell us what we have to vote, or the Americans what to vote, and so on. I just don't find that really sincere.
Okay. Well, I didn't pay much attention to that in detail because I don't let my political opinion be influenced by celebrities or whatever, because I make up my own mind, which is why, as Andy said, he's impressed with my knowledge. I follow a lot of stories, news stories. I consume a lot via YouTube. That's why I had the intention of the Bond Bulletin go to YouTube, because everybody consumes video. Yeah, and I consume a lot during the day. The news. Sometimes I don't know where I fit that in, but and a lot of it happens subconsciously. But certainly with the case with America, I think I know more about America than most average Americans do. I don't know. It's just a thing. It's not our education. It's what you do during the day. Yeah, I mean, there are always these YouTube things of where they ask Americans of European capital cities and stuff, and they don't even know where Europe is. And I can name a lot of states in the US. I can know. I can name a lot of their capital cities. I know about the political system of the US. I can explain the electoral system. You have to learn all that stuff. Years and years and years and years. Compare it to the British system and to other European systems to understand the whole workings, the inner workings of government. And I consider myself very knowledgeable about these countries, also about Switzerland. I mean, I know that many of your political decisions are done by public voting. You have a big say in your politics, something that Germany does not have. You have that. What is the English word? Volksabstimmung. What is the English word? It's a public vote.
Public vote, yes.
Yeah. So like you voted on the what was it? The tax for television and radio, which they also have in the UK, which we have in Germany, and a surprise thing happened. I thought they all would vote against it, but they vote for it. Here in Germany, they certainly would have voted against it, because nobody wants to pay. We don't like to give away our money. But in Switzerland, they all voted for it because they knew, because they're more clever than we are, they knew that there are jobs attached to that decision.
Yes, and there's a lot of secluded small regions that are just need local radio stations, and that was the main thing. But I have to say that the Swiss democratic system is actually in reality not as glamorous as it's made up to be in foreign countries, because really it is, of course, you have the public votes, but it is still very much controlled by lobbyists, and it is called a direct democracy, but it really isn't, because we still elect public servants and politicians who represent us. So in the end, it is still the Bundesrat who then gives the say. Of course, the public can vote, but the main federal consulates, they can still have very much influence on what is being decided. I mean, we had votes on stuff that the politicians wanted and people were against it, and they just brought it so many times and packed it up differently. So in the end, we would vote for it. And so there's a lot of trickery going on as well. So that takes a little bit away of that notion of Switzerland being this highly democratic country, because I feel for the last 20 years that has been on a steady decline, really.
Okay. Oh, well, it's the same in every country. I mean, Germany doesn't have the perfect political system as it is represented on the world stage. There are a lot of, well, we here say construction sites where you could do a better job, but it works for most parts. But it is certainly tested in situations like the ones we are in now.
Yes.
And just going back to the chat, Zachary asked me if I could do a Norwegian accent. I can't. No, I've been to Norway. I've been to Oslo, beautiful city. And the event Bond Girls Are Forever, where I met Luciana Paluzzi, Martin Beswick, and Britt Ekland. Most of the Bond girls. Had a lovely time in Oslo. Fantastic city. Walked on the opera roof where you can walk on and watch the ships. It's fantastic. But I can't do a Norwegian accent. No, I can speak some Swedish.
I wouldn't even know what a Norwegian accent would sound like.
I don't know. You just have to listen to Morten.
Oh, right, yes.
Morten Steingrimson of James Bond Norway. Great friend of mine. The women adore him for his accent. So there must be something. Yeah, okay. I know. Because there's an interview of him in my film, A Bond for Life, and all the women that I know said, "Oh, he's interesting."
Okay.
Must be something.
But then again, they say the same about Sean Connery's voice and accent.
Yeah, they never say these things about us, do they?
No.
I mean.
Well, they don't have taste, obviously. So.
I always thought my English sounded sexy, but okay. Have to wait a few years until somebody comes along and says, "Oh, that's sexy." No.
Well, maybe they say it, but you don't notice it, or you don't get to hear it.
Yeah. What languages can you speak beside German, French, and Italian?
English.
Well, no surprise there.
And a bit of Russian, yes.
Really? Say something in Russian.
Off the top of my head.
There we go.
Здравствуйте, меня зовут Yannick. Очень приятно.
Oh, hello, my name is Yannick. How are you?
There we go.
Was that right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, I can
no, it was not how are you? It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, okay. Меня зовут I can actually say. Yeah, that's the usual. My name is, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Or another thing, that is a great line, because for the game we're working on, I made up a fake Russian Soviet radio station, and actually the host comes out of one of the songs, and he says, let me see if I can recall it, Syntezator popi Soedineniach Штатов.
Yeah, great. That looks good on a business card.
No, it means, it comes out of one of the songs, and of course that's one of the first levels that still plays in the 80s in the Soviet Union, and he says that is synthesizer pop from the United States.
Oh, okay. Great, totally out of context.
Yeah, but it's really funny because synthezator pop, of course, you can synthesize a pop that you can understand, but the way they say USA is really funny. They say Соединенных Штатов Америки.
Okay.
Completely different to whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember when we did this fan film White Countdown back in 1998. There was a Russian nearby with his girlfriend, and I cast her as the wife of the villain, which was of course straight from Tomorrow Never Dies, except for the fact that she was Russian. Mm-hmm. And they spoke Russian fluently, and in one scene that he had as a henchman with the villain, who was basically a drug dealer, I asked him to storm out of the meeting room and swear in Russian. And I didn't understand what he said until a couple of weeks ago when I prepared the live stream for GoldenEye and researched Russian swear words, because I wanted to know what Famke Janssen is saying to Pierce Brosnan and Natalia to Alec. Mm-hmm. And then I found that again, which was basically a-hole, in Russian. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, that's what he said almost 30 years on. Yeah. No, not really 30 years. It was slightly over 20 years. Yeah.
Just join the chat. Is this a Bond event or an online language school?
Oh, Matt, yeah, it's an online language school now. Matt, where are you from, by the way? I forgot, because I think I forgot. I think I
You
know where
think
you're
you
from.
forgot? That's not something you hear of.
Matt is from America, because it's about that time in America where they tune in. Yeah, I know. We're too early for
Well,
America, but
yeah.
I'm really sorry. It's the evening here. It's close to midnight in Germany, and tomorrow morning I have to either sit on the horse or walk next to it. This morning he pulled me through the grass just because he could. A Brit in the USA.
Sadly, you missed sadly.
Yeah, yeah. Because I wanted to say, don't want to be in your shoes now. But I know a lot of Brits who live in the USA. Yeah, I know one lives in Seattle.
From sea to shining sea.
Oh, don't start. Oh, please. Next thing is gun rights. Well, I think we should conclude
Yes.
this live stream for tonight. I'm sorry, Matt. It's just a bit late because I don't know. We're scratching on the 4 hour mark, at least 3.5. I think GoldenEye was still our longest live stream with 3:38.
Yes.
3
right.
hours and 38 minutes. Tomorrow Never Dies was a bit shorter, but The World Is Not Enough certainly gave us a lot to talk about. And I think next week, Die Another Day, the final one of the Brosnans, will give us a lot of talking points again, because that film certainly has a lot of talking points. There's lots of ups and downs, lots of pros, lots of cons. I will try to make that experience worth your while. I will spend the next week preparing the live stream for you. Yannick, as usual, has nothing to do than to score the music. Are you finished, by the way, with the trailer? Our little trailer.
Even started. No.
You haven't even started. Oh, thank you very much.
I will do this over the weekend.
Yeah, doing all of it on my own here. No, okay, yeah, you'll do it over the weekend. I mean, Monday or Tuesday, we go live with the little trailer for Die Another Day, which I didn't think it was that brilliant, because it was rather done hush hush, but okay.
No, it's entertaining. It will do the trick.
Certainly, I think I will come up with something looking as original as our backdrop today.
Yes.
Will be some techno Icarus style thing, because I think you guys enjoy this kind of thing. I will rig up some behind the scenes footage, and maybe we'll throw in an original 35mm trailer or something, which people always like. Anyway, thank you for being part of this live stream. The World Is Not Enough. I hope to see you next week for Die Another Day. And it's time for us to go to bed now.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody. See you next week. Take care. Stay healthy. Bye-bye. You have to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.